All right, guys. I think it worked. Let me know if we're live here. We were having some technical difficulties. I do not know if it was PayPal that caused this, but somebody said that PayPal, after Tim's announcement last night, was causing us. They're hacking us apparently, which is just might be a little conspiratorial. I think
That's so petty of them.
I think yes, it is very petty of PayPal to go after a channel like ours. But we are here live. It looks like things are going, so we are just gonna go with it. It's gonna be hilarious editing this later. I tell you guys. My name is Brett. This is episode 163 of Pop Culture Crisis, and I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. We have chaos, as always, in the studio, but we're getting through it.
I'm not good with stress. So trying to
It's
figure
okay,
this
Brett.
out.
Deep breaths.
Deep breaths. We are making
Think
it
Chet.
work. Yes. What would Chet Hanks do?
He would
in
stay
this
sober and
case?
get jacked right now.
WWDCHD. What would Chet Hanks do? Okay.
Chet Hanks would not give up on the stream. Chet Hanks would stay sober. He would get jacked. He would continue on, which is what we're going to do. And that voice you just heard giving us an acronym, that is introduce yourself, please. You're the guest host today.
Hi, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for timcast.com.
How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing, sweet Brett? You guys have had an actual crisis on your hands.
It is. You could say that this is a form
It's
of
an inside job, and we all know it.
I like the
it's
idea.
PayPal.
Yeah, I like the idea that it's PayPal who's like, you're going to say what about us? Well, we're going to mess with your stream.
It's like people blaming FEMA for everything in the 90s.
Maybe it was FEMA too. FEMA and PayPal teamed up.
They have come together to take us out like their very own Injustice League to stop us from talking about such crazy topics as the Russo brothers, Kylie Jenner, and the sexual orientation in the Sims video games.
It goes straight
very
to the top.
life-altering stuff that we're doing right now. So we're just going to get right into it since we are off to a fantastic start.
But remember, if anything happens, blame PayPal.
If anything goes wrong, or if I say anything untoward, it's PayPal's fault. They caused this.
They're
So
trying to silence us.
are we ready, Mary?
We're ready. We're not going to let them win.
We are not. Are we ready?
Yes, we're ready.
All right. So now that we are off through our hiccups, we are going to get into the first topic, which says Netflix buddies the Russo brothers declare that going to a movie theater is, quote, an elitist notion. Something that I vehemently have no opinion on. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know how. I don't know what I'm saying.
If it's
I don't
an
know.
elitist notion,
No,
Brett,
it's
it's the
like-
most elitist person I have ever met.
I am no. I
You know
don't
what's elitist? Pointing at your main source of revenue and saying that it's elitist.
Is it?
Like, this is how we make our money,
Yes. Well, what the thing
and
is,
it's bullshit.
they've moved on to to greener pastures now with their last two projects being done through Apple TV, which I still don't know anybody who actually has Apple TV, but apparently that's the thing. But not just Apple TV, but also now The Gray Man, which is coming out, is a Netflix property, which it's getting like a 1 week theater release for The Gray Man, which is limited theater release. I don't even think there's one
Yeah, I was
showing.
confused because I did see previews for it in theaters.
Yes. So we've got that. And I do want to start offhand by saying I do believe that the Russos are actually extremely talented filmmakers. Of the 4 Marvel movies that they did, I would say that Endgame is the worst of them. Infinity War is a decent movie. Civil War is a good comic book movie, and Captain America: The Winter Soldier is an objectively good movie all around. So they know what they're doing, and they've built a very strong production company. They are actually the people who provided the seed funding for the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, which I actually saw it in light, and I saw it in theater like a true elitist.
Yeah. Yes. So I think that they have a lot to say on this. I just think it's a very confusing message, like you said, coming from the people who, for the last half a decade or decade, have made theaters their main source of revenue.
Sure. I mean, I don't think they're necessarily saying that the moviegoers as individuals are elitist. They're saying like the whole concept of it as a form of leisure.
Because it's
In
so
contrast
expensive.
to what? Like, in contrast to streaming?
My guess is that
Like, they're
like
saying-
streaming is about enjoying it from the luxury and comfort
Oh,
of your own home.
And I would say streaming you have to do when you are guaranteed to have solid internet access. If you live in a
true.
rural area where, this is true for a lot of West Virginia, internet access and cell phone and 5G and whatever are not guaranteed, you still rely on the video store. I remember talking to someone about this.
Is that still a thing?
Oh yeah, he's like, people come down from the mountains and this is like in far deep in West Virginia. Yep. He's like, people come down from the mountains on Sunday or twice a week to get their groceries, and then they'll rent films for like a week. I mean, I went to video stores growing up, but it was right at the tail end. Yeah. You can't it is interesting to me that it would be elitist to go to the movie theater, but it's not elitist to rely only on streaming.
One thing that's really interesting, we went up into the Appalachian Mountains last year, and one of the things that I thought was really interesting is that they all have, like, the houses were all kind of run down, but the cars were all really nice because they have to travel so far to get around. So like you said, if the internet is spotty out there and they don't have a way of making money, if the internet's spotty, they don't have a way of getting to a theater on a regular basis, what do you do?
I knew there's this one town, it's I think it's technically in Morgan County, West Virginia. It's called Paw Paw, and they have like one payphone. And AT&T, I believe, is the only carrier that provides service out there, and it's not consistent. And there have been a couple times that there have been medical emergencies, and the payphone has been down. Oh, and they're like easily a 30-40 minute drive from like the nearest fire station and stuff like that. Like, it is a serious problem. I mean, I do think that like for most of the world, going to the movies is a luxury. Yeah. But it is interesting that this sort of suggests to me, and perhaps I'm overinterpreting, that streaming is just like a utility bill, like as if it's just built into everyone's budget when it's really not. Yep.
So we'll go through his paragraph here, which is the interview is actually surprisingly candid. They actually phrase it that way in this. I was actually they've made their money. And they've got their revenue stream now, and now that they're working with streaming services, they can be a little bit more forthright about what they believe. And it says specifically Russo, and this is Joe Russo, not Anthony, because when they say the Russo brothers, that's Joe and Anthony Russo. It says in a wide-ranging and surprisingly candid interview alongside his brother, in which they are also pretty critical of Disney's current Marvel strategy, took a swing at the whole going to the movies concept, which they phrase there, and that's my T-Rex arms for the day. Going to the movies concept.
How many crisis parties do we need for you to do it the whole time?
The whole time. They against the whole going to the movies concept itself, saying, quote, "A thing to remember too is that it's an elitist notion to be able to go to a theater. It's very effing expensive. So this idea that was created, that we hang on to, that the theater is a sacred space, is bullshit. Hence, presumably, why The Gray Man is headed to Netflix after only 1 week limited run in theaters, after which it can live free with the Russos' populist vision of films." I love the terminology, populist vision of films. For everyone who can afford an increasingly expensive Netflix subscription.
Plus the internet to run your Netflix subscription.
If they're changing their business model where they want their movies on streaming platforms instead of it primarily in theaters, of course they're going to frame it as the next big thing.
Yeah. And it's partially marketing. And also, I don't know if I necessarily buy that. I do think they're right that somebody in the comments of one of these articles that I read said, well, like I'm going to a movie. It's like $9 for one ticket and a Netflix subscription is $15. I'm like, that's not even a real argument. When you go to the movie theater, you don't go alone. You go with your family, which means that's 9 times 4. Then you pay $37,000 for popcorn because Disney or these studios take 60% of the revenue from the process of buying movies at the theater. 60% goes to the distributor, and then 40% to the theater, which is why the price is so high to buy candy and popcorn.
Well, I can acknowledge that, back in the day when movie theaters were just sort of in the early days, maybe we might call it the heyday, like it was kind of an event to go to the movie theater. You waited for the release. I remember, if you've ever read the book A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, there's like a scene.
I missed that one.
Really?
I missed that one.
Why?
I'm sorry.
There's a scene where and it's set in like early America in New York, in Brooklyn, and the kids all get their report cards. And if you have, it's like your middle school diploma. And if you get your middle school diploma, you can go, and it's set in like, I don't remember, 1910, 1920. Like the movie theater will let you in for free that night as like a celebration of like kids in their community.
Like book it with free pan pizza if you read all the books they give you.
Yeah.
Apparently, since I didn't read, what was it called?
Oh, Tree Grows in Brooklyn?
I didn't get my book that month, so that's a problem.
But that's the thing. Like, there was a different culture that came with movie theaters when they were less accessible. Like, that wasn't just about the expense. Yes, they were expensive, but also, like, you didn't sit at home and watch TV on nights that you didn't go to the movie theater.
Yeah, and I think there's also something fundamentally conducive to it being a communal experience.
Yes, I agree.
And not just sitting alone in the glow of your TV in the middle of the night. Like, it's a family outing. And I mean, that was also something that was the case when like color TVs were first a thing. Like, a family would gather around a TV and watch something together as a communal experience.
This feels indirectly like a shot at Christopher Nolan, who is very much what you would call an auteur film snob who needs his movies. You know, have you ever seen, there's a great honest trailer for all the Christopher Nolan movies ever made, where they break down all the Christopher Nolan movies ever made.
I have never
and they
seen
talk
that.
about how complicated he makes his movies. They show a thing of him at like a film school, like trying to explain Inception to a bunch of film students, and he's got 4 whiteboards that all spin, and he's trying to, like, if you put that much time into developing these unique concepts, and you're the only director who's given the budget to do such unique ideas, like I said, Everything Everywhere All at Once is very much a unique concept, but doesn't have a gazillion-dollar budget like the Nolan movies get. I understand why he doesn't want those to be seen for the first time on the small screen.
Right.
So I'm kind of two minds about this. I'm always happy when anyone in Hollywood pretends like they aren't elitist themselves, because it makes me laugh at the idea of them not realize they're very not self-aware.
Also, like, it's confusing because moviegoing is not exactly the most highbrow activity in the world, as we know from James Cameron's new Avatar movie, where he's literally telling you to leave in the middle of it.
Yep.
Yeah, but
He
I
doesn't
still
think
suspect
it's-
that's because there's no plot, and he
Well,
needs
of
you to
course.
not be able to put all the pieces together.
But it's just like, obviously this isn't as much of a
Thank
culturally highbrow activity as going to the theater and watching like a ballet or something
Right.
like that.
well, and even like
That was what I was going to say. It's like, wouldn't the ballet or like the theater, like for expensive Broadway stuff, be more akin
And
to?
it's
Even
It's
that,
live.
like,
I mean,
that
that's
has a
also-
place too. Like,
Yeah.
there is always I think that like elitism belongs where it belongs, and it doesn't need to encroach upon everything else. And like, theater is one of those places.
I think part of it too is like, if they're saying, oh well, it's expensive in movies because you spend $15 on a ticket, but you would spend $10 on a Netflix subscription, but then you pay actually $120 for the Netflix subscription, and so you feel like you have to keep using that content even though Netflix content isn't that interesting to you. Whereas like with movies, you might buy one ticket, maybe if you're taking someone, you pay $30. You might spend $120 a year on going to the movies, but you're probably not going every month. I mean, very few people actually do that.
So it says the Russo brothers insist they're not anti-theater, just agnostic about delivery. No Christopher Nolan-esque hand-wringing about screen sizes here. This despite Anthony Russo stating explicitly that The Gray Man is big cinema. We made it for a theater, that's how we shot it, and we styled it, and on a technical level, how we supported it. The apparent paradox between these two stances goes unaddressed, which feels like a shot at him, which I like.
Well, I do think it's interesting that like if you were to set up something in the movie theater, like I am by no means, I think this is your field here, but the way you like manage the sound, because they're going to be different speakers, and the way you do all kinds of things actually shifts. So if you're like, oh, we don't care about the delivery, but also we did shoot it for a theater, like why?
Well, it's like it's the other thing. Christopher Nolan does a lot of work with IMAX, and IMAX is very expensive to do on a technical level. So if you're shooting it in that frame rate and that picture size, not frame rate, that frame size, you know there's something to be said about not wanting it to be kind of downgraded and watched on a tiny little. It's not even like the home TV that probably insults them. It's like the idea of somebody watching Tenet on like a phone.
Well, yeah, it is like the physical size of the screen that kind of speaks to the dignity of what you're watching.
Exactly. And in my when I started the stream before all the technical stuff went wrong, I pointed out, I said, you know, maybe people would be less annoyed by stuff like this if maybe they just made better movies that people actually wanted to go see at the theater, and it wouldn't be about elitism. It would be about actually getting people to come to the theater and be involved in the process. But most people, a lot of people these days don't want to give their money to movies that don't interest them. Not on top of, like, I don't even care about their political agendas, whatever. It's like a lot of these movies just, I was surprised Elvis made $100 million. I was. I did not think Elvis would have made $100 million, even given how historically important he is to America's culture. But I just feel like we've kind of dumbed down the movie-going experience so much that there isn't as much desire for stuff like that. And that actually, as much as I don't really care for
Stuff
most
like
of,
that, meaning what?
for like non-blockbuster
Non-Marvel?
stuff. Yeah. Non-Marvel. Not just Marvel, but non-Top Gun is another example of that, even though I think that's a
But
fantastic
Top
movie.
Gun and Elvis are both examples of American nostalgia.
Yes. So
That's true.
But in general, I mean, A Star Is Born did well. Most of those we've pointed out. What do you call them? Like
Biopics?
or musicals have done fairly well. Cats notwithstanding, because that was
Think
a
about that
mistake on
Freddie
their own part.
Mercury one. That was like a huge deal.
Yes,
I mean,
that one
this is
did-
similar to Elvis. Like, people are interested in cultural, especially musical icons that sort of shaped modern pop culture.
What's interesting to me about that too is like those are objectively much cheaper to make, so it feels like there would be a lot less of an investment in something like that.
I am no longer, especially like having gone through several conversations with you about Marvel and DC. Like,
Thank you.
I am not convinced that being granted a big budget actually means anything in Hollywood anymore. In some ways, it's like the studios don't want to have a surplus in their budget and have to cut down next year, so they're like, we'll just give this random Marvel Metaverse movie an extra $10 million to blow through. Like, I don't think that they are paying screenwriters or directors with vision extra money. I don't think that's what determining their budget
Nolan gets big budgets because his name brings in viewers. Christopher Nolan, he's allowed to make his kind of esoteric films at that budget because of his name.
Was it Scorsese the other week who was like, the theater is different, I'm old school,
that's
whatever
old,
else.
yeah.
Like, but we said the same thing, which is like, people will go see a Scorsese movie knowing the director.
Yes.
But we don't know I don't know who the director of any of the Marvel, DC. I don't
Exactly.
even know what they are.
Well,
now-
Marvel is then the name that draws people
Right. It's a
in.
different kind of cinema.
They have for a long time, what they would do is pluck directors out of obscurity, somebody who's done one or two independent films, and put them in a place to do this movie, because it's really Kevin Feige and Marvel that's directing the film, not that person. But I do want to point out here that what's interesting is they point out in this interview, they say, look, working for a Amazon or an Apple is different, because to them entertainment is literally a rounding error on their $1 gajillion businesses. So they said when they work with Netflix goes, here's your money, go make a movie, very hands off. Making a movie at Marvel or DC, when that's your business, is going to be a lot more studio interference. I was actually going to cover, they have a bunch of stuff that came out today about Zack Snyder's Justice League, his version of the Justice League, a bunch of bots being involved in helping get that made, which I don't really buy a bunch of, because they actually raised a bunch of actual money for charity, and bots don't raise money for charity. But the idea here is that his movie got interrupted because the studio kept interfering with what he was trying to make. Netflix, Amazon Prime. Like, one of the reasons, I was watching a Critical Drinker video today talking about how is it that A Wrinkle in Time can be so good, or can be so bad,
Terrible.
but The Terminal List and Reacher and all of this stuff in the spy genre can be so good. I think it's literally because Amazon has a hands-off approach. Like, go make it. And then it gets made by wildly different people to wildly different results.
I would say it's sort of not a fair comparison to The Wrinkle in Time, which it's had like several film adaptations that have all been terrible, and I think part of that is just the fantasy nature of the source material.
Yes.
I think it's very difficult to portray accurately. I have said it before, but like, there are some books that, as much as you love them and you vividly connect with them, are very difficult to translate into a widespread.
Okay, let's take
movie.
Netflix. Stranger Things, which is objectively beloved right now, and Resident Evil, the new Resident Evil series, which is the most hated thing I've seen in a good long time.
Well, to be fair, like, Stranger Things is its own property and not derivative, and I think that's part of the reason why it became so popular.
And the idea here is that Netflix...
What? A brand new concept?
Yes.
Yeah. A good idea?
Netflix...
Someone I know says something like that all the time.
Now, they're also, like, running it into the ground.
Yes, they are. But Netflix gave them the money and told them to make something. And I would assume that, if you have a good producer and a good filmmaker, that they're going to give you something good. And if you give a bunch of money to people who aren't good at what they're doing, or like you said, or adapting a story that is just fundamentally difficult to do and maybe requires somebody with a defter hand to guide it, then you're not going to get the same results. And I think that's a very interesting...
And as we found out, they misuse their money and underpay people and overwork them. The people who are working on things behind the scenes, I mean.
Yep. So they also point out the Extraction, which was a hit from Netflix, which is really funny because that's another movie where it's just Chris Hemsworth being kind of like a good-looking assassin guy, but since it's not attached to a previous property, people give it more leeway. Was it a really, really great movie? No, it was a good, serviceable, fine way to spend a couple hours of my life. But just the fact that they're not crapping all over something that already exists, people give it a lot more leeway. So I'm actually really fascinated to see where the term elitism comes into it. I'm not really sure, but I do think it speaks to the...
I think it's totally a marketing angle.
Yeah, for
It's just
the
a
Gray
soundbite.
Man, which is coming out.
Yeah.
Which we are going to review. I want to talk. I don't know if we can do like reviews live because it's very hard to do like that. Whoever the guest is that day would have had to see it. Otherwise it's just like me and Mary. Like, well, ignore Hannah Claire. She didn't see the movie. Then let's pretend like they're not there. We can't
I'll
really
just
do that.
ask a million questions all the way through.
Well, we taled about Thor and you didn't see Thor.
Yes, but I acknowledged it beforehand. It's like,
Yeah.
I didn't.
What did you think of the trailer for Gray Man?
I liked it. It felt the funny thing is about it. If you go back and you watch the trailer to the old to Captain America, Civil War and Captain America, The Winter Soldier, there's a lot of very similarly done shots of like military vehicles and cameras with hard sweeps to the left. I looked at it and I saw elements of the same trailer, which is just speaking to elements of the same filmmaker who has a style that works. So, should we do super chats?
Yeah, why do I feel like there was one super chat that was on the other
I think
stream?
two came in while
There was a phantom super chat, guys, that came in while I was trying to fix the stream. So
apologies if we can't
appreciate
read those, but
Yes,
thank you.
we are sorry.
Anyway,
just super chat again and let us know what you said.
yeah, Goofer Trooper said, "May chaos reign supreme."
it is absolutely doing that
I
right
fully agree.
I think instead of live in the circle, it should just say chaos.
now. It should.
F off said, "I suppose we're not getting a Chet of the day. You're slipping, my peeps."
Actually,
Chet is slipping.
Chet is slipping. I am not slipping. In fact, I have a Chet window permanently opened on my computer. So
you
as
have
you
Google
can see,
News alerts for Chet Hanks.
there have been no Chet formations today. So just a picture of him shirtless, which, as enticing as that may be for some, isn't really him giving inspiring words of encouragement. So
This like cult that he's built is like, where are you, leader?
that is the way it is.
F off also said, "Money gun is broken. So is my dollar amount." Then
No, it worked.
Yeah.
I don't think they're broken, dude.
I think it's
Yeah, they're
working. my
totally.
dude.
I can. Like,
You should. Yeah.
Should I like put this on my Instagram story right now? Like, definitely live.
That, see, went right there.
Jedi Mind Tricked 75 said, "If going to the movies is an elitist notion, I wonder how they would classify the idea of making a movie."
Let them eat
That's
cake.
just an artistic form of expression. Please stop questioning us. Let us do what we
They
want.
do. The thing is, the Russo brothers, they absolutely look like art nerds, and that's what I love about them. Like, they look
But
like...
if you can embrace that
Yeah.
and just like know what you are and stop denying it, like don't say that you're a man of the people.
Look
then-
at like, I am a man of the people, he said in their like gazillion-dollar New York penthouse. That's
wearing
fine.
a scarf.
That's very of the people.
Dragon's Talon 1001 said, "If they stopped making crap movies, maybe more people would go."
That's a big part of it here.
I feel like maybe like we discount people's anxiety that is remaining from the pandemic.
Yeah, we're gonna
about
talk
that.
We're gonna talk about
specifically.
that later in Podluck in
Yeah.
relation to Comic-Con.
Maybe just like try new things. Like I get the movies are cool, and I'm not trying to downgrade it at all. But like it's summer, go to like an outdoor thing.
Don't listen to her.
Go see a
Drive-in
play.
movies?
Well, this is a
Drive-in
pop culture
movie.
podcast, so don't listen to her.
But there's like you could go to a music festival, you could
You
go
could.
see music live, you could go to local performances of things. Like we don't have to be dependent on the movies. You know what I mean?
No, you're
Like,
right.
And I believe there are no good movies.
Or read books.
You could.
Hannah Claire 2022.
Look, I love a good suggestion. Everyone read a book, but I understand it's not as social and like an outing for everyone.
Yeah. Chris said, "Please get with Shane Cashman and ask him to do an EPUB version of his book on timcast.com. I don't want to support Amazon and their ebook business model. Tried emailing Shane, but no reply. I'm sorry, we can't get you in touch with Shane.
I can pass the message
But
along.
we'll let him
What
know.
do we look like? Shane's secretaries?
Yeah.
No, that's an interesting
hey,
comment.
Shane Cashman canceled for this Thursday, so I'm not doing him any favors,
No,
guys.
it's personal
No
now.
favors for
Although
Shane.
I
He gave me
support not supporting Amazon.
He gave me this excuse. He's like, I gotta do this, and he's like, and I gotta work, and it's like, oh, working.
I have
huh?
responsibilities and commitments.
I've got a job, and I've got a family, and all these other stuff that doesn't matter.
You call on the phone, you're crying. You're like, I'm not just an option, Shane.
Yeah, exactly. Quit
Treat
making
me like a real person.
Exactly.
Bad
I'm not his side piece.
That's true.
Yeah. Bad Up said the movie theater got me to third base for the first time during Mission Impossible 3 when I was a young buck. We need to save the theaters.
That is that is my favorite.
I don't know how to counterpoint
that is my favorite super chat of the day.
Mission Impossible 3, huh?
So Mission Impossible third base is what you're saying.
F off
I hope
said.
that was the line. It's Mission Impossible 3. You know what that means. Terrifying.
Oh no.
Oh, never let your
It's
children.
like Netflix and chill. Mission Impossible and third base.
F off said VOD has been amazing for me. I hate going to the theater. Actors earn too much, theaters charge too much, and the chairs blow. My home theater is more comfortable, and I can throw back some shots.
Look, I love it.
I
That's
love.
a great I'm staying at home mantra.
We have a couple of theaters around here. One is like a regular theater, and the other one's got the reclining chairs.
It's got bougie stuff.
It's got bougie stuff. I can get my French fries with cheese, which I, the like 2 movies
The
ago.
food is like massively overpriced for the quality of the food.
I just feel like, and it's not a sustainable pattern, but like I grew up near this like 2-room theater that like it was really cheap. Basically everyone I knew from high school worked there, and they showed really interesting movies. Like they did some stuff that was like the Lincoln I don't remember what it was, but like they would do some stuff that would get mainstream,
Thank you.
direction, but it also introduced me to a lot of stuff I wouldn't have seen.
Yeah.
And I feel like I wish that there were I know that there are going to be big theaters that show the blockbusters, but I wish that there was a way to sustainably have more.
Well,
like,
I thought they
theaters.
also, like, some theaters let you rent out one of their theaters and show
Yeah, you can do
whatever
that.
you
A lot of
want
them
if
do
you can crowdfund that.
Yeah.
I just
Whenever
like,
we
wish it was more
have
regular.
like video, when I made skate videos, like full length videos, when you'd have the premiere, you'd have to rent out a theater, usually like an art theater.
Stop.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
Make a new skate video and let's do this.
I don't have the time.
Guys,
for that.
super chatting if you would go to the premiere of Brent's newest skate video, full length.
Okay.
Immediately, yes.
Like videos.
Brent is looking at me like, stop.
Videos that were
talking.
like literally sold in stores and stuff like that, but you had premieres and
Incredible.
you had to do it at like a downtown art theater, something like that. So you have to rent it out, calibrate the settings, everything like that. Yeah,
That's amazing. Let's bring it back.
still happens all the time.
I
Well,
don't
actually,
believe you.
less
I have
so
never
now
been
because
invited
so
to
much of
such
it's
an event.
VOD.
Yeah.
Continue.
Hobbit said, I watch most things on my phone these days. For example, no one in my house cares about watching The Boys, so I watched it on my phone in my room. That's sad.
I
What's the
I
voice?
can't do the.
The Boys?
Yeah.
It's a series. I haven't seen it,
Amazon
but
Prime.
a lot of people have been saying it's like unintentionally really good and
Oh,
like
cool.
insightful.
There's a lot of like stuff about performative allyship.
Yeah.
And yeah. I can't do the phone for watching. I like even when, I have like a YouTube Premium, but that's so I can pause or so I can make the screen dark and put my phone in my pocket, like and lock my screen and listen to it.
That is one of the nicest things about YouTube.
Very few things like on there. Like I love a lot of YouTube creators, but I don't ever look at them because I'm listening to them.
The background play, I think, is the only worthwhile thing about YouTube Red.
Oh yeah, well it's not Red, and I don't think
Whatever.
they call it Red anymore. Just Premium now. But yeah, I don't think.
Why? I liked it better when it was red.
YouTube Red gave us Cobra Kai before Netflix.
Soon
bought
they're gonna be
them.
like, it's YouTube Plus, like everything else in the
Yes,
world.
that's it. Well, yeah. Imagine if you had CNN Plus on your phone right before it died, and then the app just disappeared from your phone. No. Or actually just because
then
It's
they
like
kept
Flappy
charging you.
Bird. If you don't delete it from your phone, you'll have it forever.
you can't sell those phones. Apparently, it's illegal to sell those phones with Flappy Bird on them now.
What?
Why?
Against what law?
I don't know. I don't look. Damn it! I wish
Where?
I wish this had come up in normal conversation. Like you're not supposed to do that.
This is
but
not a normal
I
conversation.
imagine like you're on CNN Plus, and then like as CNN Plus dissolves, the plus sign just goes away on the app, and it just becomes the regular
But they
CNN
keep
app.
charging you.
Exactly.
Gold Macro said, but Resident Evil should have nostalgia, ease of direction, and plenty of pre-existing lore to draw from, and they still screwed it up.
That's because I watched. I felt so bad. I was watching a heel versus babyface video earlier as he was reviewing it, and you can literally see the pain in these people's faces. Like those guys are like better than I could ever be. Like they do a lot of those things where they hate watch stuff that you can tell they despise watching it, just so that they can review it. Like he used to review Batwoman, and you watch him slowly go like lose his mind with every episode, like because it's so bad. So they are much better people than I to be able to do that. I don't have the patience.
We're very close to a crisis party, by the way.
We are very close.
Woot,
See
woot.
it right there.
Are you gonna T-Rex arms all the way through the crisis party? If we get
Yes.
one?
Slay. Brian Smith said, review this baby. Woo, let's go. Review what?
I think it's the money shot.
The money
Or
shot.
The
Did
money...
he send the last? Okay.
No, I meant like the money coming out.
Oh,
of the
okay,
gun.
okay.
I didn't use it in the correct.
And he
I'm-
sent $4.20.
Thank you for that.
Canadian.
Oh, I didn't notice.
I'm Canadian. Thank you for that.
A CA is
20
Canadian,
cents
right? I'm
in
assuming that's
Yes,
Canadian
Canadian.
dollars.
that's unless it's California.
That means you're smoking maple leaves. Wayward Soul said, idea. Group of friends individually get a week to make a short film and then have a watch party at the end. Guarantee more fun than the cinema.
Probably.
But way
You're
more
so
effort than just going out together.
I do think that's I think a lot of these guys, like the Russo brothers, they obviously have been like thinking about these things and being creative together for a long time, and I do wish that we had like ways to cultivate, especially young people, like give them a chance to show films that they put together with their friends in local theaters and things like that. Like I think in some ways we become dependent on bigger and bigger companies to produce content for us
because we're
and-
sheep.
Yeah, and like Brett was saying earlier, like they'll take somebody who's a director who's directed a couple independent films and be like, okay, work on this big, essentially chain movie, which is
Yeah.
like, I understand that it's a big opportunity and that there's money, and I'm not trying to deny its purpose, but like, wouldn't it be cooler if you were like, we'll just give you some money to cultivate what you're doing?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't always work. I
Yep.
think that was the critique of like Kevin Smith, right? But
Yep.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, hey, Crisis crew, better late than never on getting the stream up and running. Just a heads up, Hannah Claire's mic volume is a little low.
I turned it up. So
maybe
Okay.
it's just my voice. I'll start screaming. Hold on.
Okay, thank you.
I have really sensitive ears, and every time we come in here, Brett's like, "Are you going to be okay?"
yes.
So-
You know,
Are you feeling a little more zen than when we started?
I am. I
Good.
just like it ended up being one of those things where I like the idea that we come up with a bunch of conspiracy theories about who's trying to take us
It's not
down.
a conspiracy theory. It's PayPal.
It's PayPal. I want PayPal to be. I want there
I
to
want
be like.
PayPal to issue a formal
No,
apology.
it's Lizzo.
It could be
Hey,
Lizzo.
Lizzo doesn't believe in monogamy, even though she's clearly in a monogamous relationship.
We covered that yesterday.
Good. I sent it to you, and I was like, if Brett doesn't
When
use
Dane
this.
said it's too close to a diet because there are too many rules, it's so funny because it literally crossed my mind before we were even doing the stream, and I was like, don't even say that. Like,
No,
Dane
that's
has
the
But
best thing
someone
about
needs
Dave.
to
He's
say
gonna
it.
say it.
Dane has no chill.
I'm so glad he's back.
All right.
Managed Wig 42 sent us a super chat with no message.
Thank you, Manage Wig 42.
Hobbit said, Phantom here. Pop culture crisis is never late, nor is it early. It arrives precisely when it means to.
That is
So freaking
if only
true,
that was
dude.
something I could actually tell people. Like, you want to talk about
Tell yourself,
You want
Brett.
to talk about elitism.
Yes.
I want to be able to just start this stream in the middle of at 3 in the morning and be like, it's not late. It's not
Well,
early either.
No,
It's
technically,
right
we
on
work
time.
physically above everyone else, so we are the elites.
We are.
I do think that's true. Sometimes when I come up here, I'm like, oh yeah, I've really elevated myself
Yeah.
to a new level. Plus, you have the lighting and stuff. Wouldn't it be funny if when you review theaters, you like come back or review movies, you get out at 11 o'clock at night, we like all run up here and we're like, okay, we're live. It's 11:30 at night. We're streaming until like 1 a.m.
Yeah, before we just ran up here and recorded it, but maybe we should go live in the middle of the night. Dragon's Talon 1001 said, third base movie theater, full Mont for drive. Wait, is that movement or Mont?
Full Monty.
Full Monty?
Yep.
For drive-in theaters. I was gonna say I was surprised that the pandemic didn't like have
Bolster
drive-in
business. Yeah.
theaters blow up.
They-
you know,
they
'Cause I
were-
went to a couple, but
They were big, but then also I know in a couple different areas, drive-in theaters lease their spaces to churches so they could do like drive-in ceremonies, and they
Oh.
got like hit with COVID fines because they're like, no, we said no one can assemble. Like,
Drive-in church is weird though, because you're watching it.
It seems
and you're not
weird
part
to
of
me.
it.
That sounds
But
really weird to
at
me.
the other hand, like if people really
That's
feel like they
odd.
want to be in service and they weren't allowed to go to their church, like I can understand trying to come up with a creative solution. My favorite part of the COVID pandemic was when you would see all these priests with like super soakers, like baptizing
Oh,
babies.
that was the best
It
part.
was hilarious.
There was a lot of memes
like,
that just said this was the
innovation.
there was a lot of memes that this was the weirdest part of the pandemic.
That is me with my like spray bottle of holy water in my
Yes.
car though.
She has a spray bottle of holy water. She
Yesh said, my third base was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Just
What a
keep
personal day
coming
in
up
the
with
chat.
worse
It is a
ones.
very personal day in the chat today, guys.
Is this a therapy session?
It is turning into that.
Gold Mecro said, did this lady just suggest instead of my comfy movie seat and popcorn, I go to a bunch of sweaty music festival peoples? I can barely deal with randos as it is. LOL.
Look, I also always like being home and with people
The whole
I like.
Thank you.
appeal of concerts, though, is like that you get to kind of lose it and go wild.
I never have
right?
gone wild in my life. But no, I'm just kidding. I think a part of it, you know, if you want to stay home, that's fine. But I'm just saying, if you're like, hey, I've been spending a lot of weeks at home, it's time to do something different, and you don't like any theaters, you know, there are usually typically other things going on. You don't have to support the theaters. You don't have to
Slam
be
poetry, for instance.
Well,
Oh.
don't do that.
Does anybody do that?
Actually, no. Forget that.
Well,
F off said, hearing Hannah Claire say money shot never gets old.
guys, I can't speak in young people's vernacular.
There it is.
Christmas party. Thank you.
I was like, it was right at the edge of its run, so, or like,
Right.
yeah. I was like sitting here
It's a
waiting.
little
like,
bit
I'm like,
delayed.
I honestly find this lighting so therapeutic. Like I
like
love
it. I wanted to just keep going throughout the whole show. I don't think it would distract me at all.
No, I think it's better that it's like a competition thing and like it comes when we're not expecting
Have
it.
you ever seen the memes of like people where it's like when a bunch of
Your gun isn't working.
there it goes.
Oh, okay.
It was ringing.
I'll
When it's
throw
like
some
when
cats
you
at
hear like when you're driving in your car and you hear a bunch of and you hear police sirens in the music and then people like slow down instantly and like turn behind them.
Phone calls too.
Yep.
Chris said Shane just replied to my email. I think he's watching. Keep up the good show. Liking
Shane?
it more than neurotic.
I am
Shane,
not.
super chat in unless if you're watching.
I am not your side piece, Shane. I'm not your side piece. There you go.
Is he watching?
I don't know. I'll be angry. All
I
right.
feel like we probably shouldn't publicly shame people we work with on this podcast, but you know, that's
Shane,
where it's going.
Shane loves us, and we know that he's very busy with Inverted World.
Busy.
Inverted World is doing big things right now, so
Yes.
I understand that
I
he's
love
busy.
like, it's so funny to see Inverted World work because there'll be like underground for a while and then it's like all live and it's cool to see.
Yep.
Pinch Me ND said movie adaptations per the discussion the other day would be Metroid or Mega Man.
Metroid, I don't know much about. Mega Man movie, I really can't see them being able to pull that off. I just if they can't make Resident Evil work, they can't pull off Mega Man. They're not that smart.
Corey Alexander said, why are the Russo brothers pulling up the ladder?
Hollywood loves that. They love to pull the ladder. Comedians love to pull the ladder up behind them. Like, oh, you can't make those jokes. I grew out of it. You shouldn't even be able to have that phase.
Yeah, and if you even found it funny, you're a villain.
You
We
are
have
a,
progressed past this since I did it.
you are a
Yes.
bad guy.
Nathan Settlemeyer said, annex Canada.
Blame Canada.
But what parts? What parts of Canada do you want annexed? You don't want the whole thing.
Or the annexation.
I am Canadian. I can say that it's not racist.
The
Canadian.
annexation.
What?
You're Canadian?
Since when?
Guys, I'm coming out.
I thought
I'm
you were
Canadian.
I thought you were British.
I am. I'm both. I have 3 citizenships.
I've never seen you just drink maple syrup, though.
I do it at home in private.
Also,
Okay.
I'm gonna make this statement, and if anybody gets the reference, let me know. The annexation of Puerto Rico. Somebody in there will get
Brett.
that. Somebody in there will
No.
get that. There's one more.
Doc Holiday said, simping for Mary. Heart eyes? Not really heart eyes. Hearts around his face.
All right, we
Thank you.
are gonna move on, and we are gonna talk about
Hearts
guess.
around his face.
I don't know.
we are gonna move on. We're gonna talk about the sexual orientation of characters in The Sims 4, which felt
Good. I've
originally-
always wanted to talk about this.
You've always wanted to talk about this.
No.
It felt like a Dane topic, but I did remember Hannah Claire saying that she played The Sims.
Oh
growing
yeah,
up.
I was a devoted Sims fan back in the day.
So you played these games?
And we need to talk about the psychology of it.
Yes.
Why
So-
do you like Sims?
Are we opening with this?
Yes. Do you want to go?
I wanna know.
You want to lead?
Well, sure. So I think that women enjoy The Sims because it lets them like control a domestic environment and like a social environment and like artificially like change things about it. Like, I don't know. It's like domesticity, but
Controllable domesticity.
it's like, yeah, it's like that need for control that women have, like, only
Did you play it growing up?
expressed in this. No, I didn't.
Okay.
Which ones did you play?
So my cousins and my brother and I all used to play. We'd like all gather around the one home computer and play Sims 1 together, and then eventually Sims 2. I dropped out after Sims 3, partially because my computer couldn't run the software or something, and also because it got too complicated for me. I think what you're saying, there is a level to that. You'll hear these stories about moms who are on like Super Nanny who neglect their children to take care of their virtual family, and it's always Sims. For me, to be really honest, there were two things that drew me to it. The first one was it's very close to, or it's a very accessible form of architectural software. So like building the houses, I always found that really interesting, and then later went into real estate. So like I think there's something about that spoke to me.
Is it like Minecraft for girls?
I've never played Minecraft, so I don't know. My sisters play Minecraft and I think like it, but that one is a little bit more like imaginary. Like with Sims, you're replicating reality in like better ways. The other thing I liked, and this was true from an early age, I've always been into books. I've always been into literature. And so part of it is like, you're right, you get to control. But for me, it was like a narrative sense. It wasn't like domestic. Like you would create characters who have conflict or like have personalities or backgrounds. And I really liked that. But it was like the kind of game where I would spend hours setting up this whole thing. And then I wasn't allowed to watch TV or play like computer games during the week. So like I'd start Friday night, and by time Sunday I was like ready to play it. It's like too late. It's time to take off.
So is our society's continual growing obsession with sexuality kind of a manifestation of like, is this game going into that territory kind of just a representation of our society's growing interest and seeming focus on the concept of sexuality?
I don't think it's our society's obsession with sexuality as much as it's an obsession with control and also the death of like not escapist entertainment, because I mean I guess Sims is like an escapist game. You're like simulating reality, but what was interesting to me about this, I saw this subject come up like when people were arguing about it on Twitter, and something that the Sims Twitter account said about it is this is not a feature that we're going to allow you to turn on or off on the game, because in real life, sexuality, your sexual orientation is not something that you can toggle on and off. It's something that you have to live with in your lived experience.
I think they had to like really craft a PR message around that to be
like,
of
course,
sexuality isn't something you choose, except in this game when you choose it. But
yeah, and of course, like
you can't opt out.
And the obvious problem with that is that the whole point of The Sims is that you have complete control over everything, and none of your actions like have consequences. You can like burn down your house and it doesn't actually matter, and it has nothing to do with your lived experience.
They love that term.
So
they love the
term, and it's all for fun and not about your identity or who you actually are in real life. So I think it's like very obviously a virtue signal.
I think it's part of this ongoing campaign to be like, we're normalizing something that's already normal. We just don't acknowledge it as normal. I wrote this article for the site today about a fashion designer and his actor husband had their children who were born via surrogate baptized in the Greek Orthodox Church, and there's some conflict there. But they didn't,
because it was surrogacy.
What was his name?
His name's Peter Dudas, I think. He's dressed like a bunch of people. Yes, Dundas.
I was writing about him for the surrogacy article.
Yeah, so I covered.
Super weird.
Yeah, he's interesting, and you probably read his comments on Vogue after his son was born.
Yeah.
The Greek Orthodox Church doesn't recognize same-sex marriage or like partnerships, and it's also not like same-sex marriage isn't legally recognized in Greece, and so they did this private ceremony in Greece because one of the two, the husband is of Greek descent, and they're like, we're incorporating Greek Orthodox tradition to our kids' lives, and they said specifically like they live in LA because it's normal to see same-sex couples with small children who were born via surrogacy. They talk about how this should be normal. It should be normal for kids to receive blessings in this church, even if they're from, same-sex parental families. I think that's like when you sent me this article, I wrote it this morning and then I saw this after. I kept thinking like, oh, it's because this is supposed to be absolutely normal. And I think the thing that interests people about Sims is like, you can kind of do whatever you want. Like nothing makes sense in Sims if you don't want to, or you can make it hyper realistic. I mean, it's really up to you. And in some ways this is an intrusion on the flexibility of the medium of Sims, I think. I mean, for me, that was one of the reasons I didn't keep playing with it after a certain point, was because it started being about like, we'll go online and connect with other people who are playing. And for me, I liked it because I could create whatever world I wanted to in that moment. Whereas this is saying like parts of the real world are intruding on this. Like, and the next thing you're going to know, they're going to be like, oh, well, we're going to have some alerts from the president in Sims whatever.
I'm going to read some of her quotes in here. So this is from the lead designer, Jessica Croft, a.k.a. Sim Guru Jessica. She elaborated further about sexual orientation in Sims 4. As a team, we hold creativity, discovery, inclusivity, and play as core values and strive every day to celebrate diversity, equity, and inclusion for our people and community. Croft opened with that in mind, we're delighted to bring the sexual orientation feature to all Simmers. She continued, between this update and the recent pronouns update, did anybody see that Lil Uzi Vert updated his pronouns to they, them?
I did see that. I wasn't surprised. I mean, you implanted a diamond in your forehead. You very clearly want to be unique.
I love his music.
At what point does the they, them pronoun stop being unique, though?
I love their music.
But way to keep up.
I screwed up. Sorry about that. She continued, between this update and the recent pronouns update, we're taking several strides forward in becoming into being a game that respects and celebrates the nuance and color of everyday life. It's important to acknowledge that these are steps in a journey that we are still mapping out. The game's design lead prefaced by adding, there is much further to go, and while I can't get into the details of where exactly we go next, please know that we are committed to continuing to improve our representation of the LGBTQIA+ community. She further explained authenticity is a point that often comes up in regards to features like this, and rightly so. As such, I'll try to peel the curtain back a bit and speak on to our efforts to make sure we got this right. Many members of our team, including myself included, are part of the LGBTQIA+ community. She revealed, that said, each one of us on the team represents only a narrow slice of lived experience. So I need to ask, like, when is far enough that you've officially reached every life experienced is officially represented, unless you literally hire every single life that's ever played a game to work on the game?
If you wanted your actual lived experience to be represented in Sims 4, first of all, you've got bigger issues, but
you should go to a music festival. Get out of your house.
Yeah, that was
not a movie.
Like never the point of the game. The point was actually the opposite, is that it's not representative of your actual life or who you are or what you are. And like, also I want to point out that there's not an internal consistency of what they're saying, because you can choose exactly how your character looks, which has nothing to do with how you look, including race.
Well, they would actually, and a lot of people would. I remember when the player for one of the, like, some game got in trouble for putting dreads or cornrows in their hair, and they said that she shouldn't do that because the person who played the character was not African American. And they said that was cultural appropriation. That's a thing.
But that the character was
white, she
was white.
That she was white and gave her white character cornrows. And basically the idea was that, they did the same thing with Adele.
But if she had a black character and gave it dreadlocks, but she was white, would that be cool? Where does it end? I'm just curious.
I have no idea. That's because
that's digital blackface.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
Have you heard of it?
That's been said before too. Trust me.
I know.
There's no limit to the. There's also, this is all very much a grift.
Doesn't this make you want to stay at home and not interact with anyone ever?
Yes.
There's just like
it does.
So we're getting so self-referential. Like the amount of self-awareness, but at the same time, like, lacking it is like maddening.
So he says, as such, we've worked extensively with GLAAD and It Gets Better in the It Gets Better project to ensure that we've captured the widest possible range of viewpoints. The same thing as with COVID is there is so much money to be made
off
to
of
be a
being
virtue signal.
Consultant. That's what it is.
I want one of those jobs where you go in and be like, no, you've disappointed me. Fix it.
No.
$8,000.
And what it is somebody from GLAAD comes in. Just imagine, I use this example all the time. You're a shop owner. You're a shop owner in a little corner. You own a bodega. And a guy comes in with a baseball bat and says, sure would be a shame if someone came in, beat up all the stuff in your shop, and then breaks the glass on the counter. That's what this is. It's sure would be a shame if people came in and said that your game wasn't inclusive enough.
And they're like, oh my gosh.
Enter threat.
Is this a sign that like Gamergate did not actually succeed in doing anything to the industry?
Wait, can I ask another question? So you can say my sim wants to woohoo with these types of people or this gender, and they're romantically interested in this gender. Number one, can you set those so they're opposite, just to make your sim desperately confused? Also, does this mean that we're going to be able to have transgender sims? Are we about to get to can your sim change its identity?
There is it doesn't allow you to exit the binary in this. They talk about that. They actually address that point in here. She says, let's see if we can get down.
Can you elect to have a transgender sim?
She says, regarding whom players' sims are attracted to, Croft declares, this is a simple affirmative statement, elaborating if a sim whose gender doesn't match your sim's attraction settings attempts a romantic interaction with your sim, they will be rejected. Well, that sounds very rude, and maybe you should stop being. That sounds like maybe gay or straight panic in the real world. You can check any combination of attraction boxes, including all or none, to reflect your sim's romantic orientation. Further down the line, we'll be able to expand this to include additional gender identities that we don't have at this time. I understand that there will be concerns here around the initial options.
It's a no for me.
Being gender binary. I understand that there will be concerns here around initial options being gender binary, she admitted. Mechanically, non-binary sims don't exist yet in The Sims 4. She then asserted, while we make great progress in representing non-binary sims with the pronouns update, we acknowledge the pronouns are not the same as gender identity. We recognize that we still have ways to go in this regard. I'll cover that more in the frequently asked questions. I actually I guess if there was a game in which it kind of makes sense to me as somebody who didn't play it, I guess getting bogged down in that type of detail makes more sense here than it does in some fantasy game where your quest is to destroy dragons.
Yeah. This makes so much sense because it really is it's like building your own Jane Austen novel, right? It's all about the interpersonal dynamics that you get for
this is the appeal.
And I think that's interesting, cool, and whatever else, but I don't know. I just feel like they're spending, I can't imagine how much money is going into this effort. And I know someone who feels different would be like, but it's worth the investment. Representation is important. But is this really attracting people to your game? Is this making, did you get a lot of complaints or were you really held up by GLAAD?
Upvotes on Reddit and positive comments.
I'd love
on Twitter.
I should have done it before the show, but I want to see what the revenue is. Maybe this is to get back in the headlines to try and attract people back into Sims.
Yep.
But there are so many other things that Second Life, for instance, is a similar thing. It's not exactly the same, but it's similar. Has and then their culture on Second Life is literally insane. Not safe for work in any way, shape, or form. You can say literally anything and do whatever you want, and there are no consequences. And I assume that is
it's the libertarians version of Sims.
Yeah, that is kind of the appeal of it. Not that there are a bunch of rules, and what this sounds like is a bunch of rules and mechanics attached to something that nobody even asked for.
Yeah. The game's lead then attempted to explain why there were only two options being showcased, declaring, this is a natural question to ask given that we just recently released the pronouns update. I'll try to be very transparent with this one. This is due to technical limitations, she went on. It says that she went on to justify. I like the idea she's literally pleading with them, don't get me in
We
trouble.
just literally don't know how to do it.
As stated above, mechanically, non-binary Sims don't exist yet in The Sims 4. You still have to make a binary gender selection for your Sims at creation, regardless of pronoun settings. She then pleaded,
your Sim a mastectomy.
She then pleaded, "We hope that we've shown our commitment to improving representation of gender identities with features such as gender customization, which allows you to modify physical frame, clothing preferences, pregnancy, and toilet use options." But remember, she's pleading with them. She's like, "Please do not get me in trouble.
Don't flame me online.
Don't tell my boss I'm a bigot."
I don't understand like why these people think that getting cyberbullied is literally the worst thing that could ever happen to you.
I mean,
Game developers and really like all of them, TV show producers, movie producers, they all they're so paranoid.
So I don't know where to go with this. I felt like of all the realms of video games and movie and cinema, this felt like it made the most sense to me as to where this type of stuff would end up. It made sense to me in the context of this game, I guess. So.
It does make sense to me too. I mean, I can understand why this type of platform where it's a lot about personal choice and customizing all the characters, through their clothing or whatever, to be like one of the, I don't remember if it was like 2 or 3, but one of them added in personality. So you could adjust their personalities.
Okay.
I understand how we got here. It's just this, I jumped off this ship a long time ago, partially because I was no longer just I lost my interest in it, but also because it just starts to be not worth it. If you have to be bogged down in all of the various details, you never end up playing the game.
Yep. Yeah, you never get started because you're just constantly customizing.
You're having to go through every single little thing and then setting up whatever world.
Is it permanent? Can you change it after?
I want to know if, I don't think you can, but I'm wondering, you used to be able to your Sims could have kids and then the baby would be born, you could name it and stuff, but and
can you
change its hairstyle
first
or
make
whatever?
your Sim straight and then it comes out of the closet?
Or
what
if it announces to you that it is actually a man?
Maybe it's not your choice.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't get to opt out of it, therefore it's your Sim's choice.
Or if Sims 4, the company, notices that you actually have only straight characters, so they make one of your
honestly,
Sims
it
come
doesn't
out.
seem like it would be that far off from possibilities.
I'm half joking, but I'm not totally.
Yeah.
Like Microsoft Word saying, "Are you sure you want to use this word?"
Same with Google Docs.
That seems very, very bigoted to use that word. Maybe you should change the word.
It does that?
Yeah.
And Google Docs does. I mean, it's
That's
just
so funny.
you're being watched on all fronts.
All right, super chats.
F off said, Hannah Claire, you're not that old. I'm 30 and can keep up enough to know what money shot means. Ha.
No, you guys don't understand. I'm a boomer. I identify as one.
She totally gets the reference. Okay, next.
I don't know what you're talking about, sir.
She has no clue.
New Anomaly Productions says Little Giants.
That is where the annexation of Puerto Rico is. That is the movie that annexation of Puerto Rico
Someone
is from.
got it then.
It is.
Did they win a prize?
Are
you gonna T-Rex arms for them?
I will. There you go. It's a play that a character comes up with to yes, one of Rick Moranis's best performances and a great performance from Ed O'Neill.
Shane Cashman, whoever that is,
Interesting.
says,
Brett's
please tell
side piece.
Chris I've sent a reply and thanks for supporting Pop Culture Crisis and Inverted World. Vote Cashman 2024.
Shane,
Oh, I forgot he's in the middle of a political campaign.
yes, he's got to get ready for the election.
F off says The Sims was the best. It got guys into it for the building and earning aspect, and women loved it for all the reasons Hannah Claire said.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Hobbit said, I don't know one person who played Sims, including myself, who didn't have a community resembling a psychotic dream. None of my games were normal.
I mean, maybe that's
Which is why I'm saying, why does it need to resemble real life, your lived experience, when it is intentionally, the whole appeal of it?
I think the counter argument would be without the options to customize who they're attracted to. If the default setting is heterosexual, then you're limiting the abilities to customize the world.
Honestly, with how long the woke stuff has been around, I'm surprised they haven't implemented this sooner.
Thought that you could I thought maybe you had to have a cheat code or something, but I thought there was a setting to make it so your Sims didn't care about the gender markers, but
Maybe.
I could be totally wrong.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, never played Sims. I just remember my older brother playing SimCity back in the day. LOL.
Mm-hmm.
Hobbit said, virtue signaling, Sims edition.
That's what it is.
Bad App said, Mary looks like every girl I saw MI3
Mission
with.
Impossible 3.
Oh. Oh, I get it.
Horrifying.
Now you get it.
Sir, you forget yourself.
Big yikes, as the kids say.
Gold Macro said, I mean, just more types of Sims for me to murder in various bizarre ways.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, they never
I
were
thought
like,
that was the whole point of it, right?
like I wonder if Sims 4 could, like, if they're, because they're obviously collecting data on this kind of stuff now that it's mostly online. If they're like making notes like markers of serial killer, of serial killer.
Gold Macro said, I mean, just, sorry. That was the same one. Bad App said, I liked removing the track on Roller Coaster Tycoon, murdering everyone and picking up guests and surrounding them on water rides.
Man, I remember that game. That was great.
And he also said, my ex would get mad when my sim would cheat on her.
Oh, man. Is that like...
Your ex would get mad when your sim would cheat on her
When your sim would have a dream.
I was going to say, it's the Sims version of her dreaming that you cheated on her in a dream and then taking it out on you in the real world, which, as we know,
is... I don't know. My sim just doesn't really like your sim.
That's what it is. All right, we're going to move on and talk about Kylie Jenner. Climate criminal.
Criminal with a K.
Criminal with a K. So here we are. It says Kylie Jenner called climate criminal after 17-minute private jet flight. This is very Hollywood.
How dare you? How absolutely dare you?
Dare you? That's what it is. I should have pulled that meme up. It says Kylie Jenner is facing major backlash from social media users boasting about her and her boyfriend Travis Scott's private jets and using hers to take short flights. This is apparently something that goes
Not just
back.
like a short flight. It's like, why did you even get on the plane? It took you longer to drive to the airport and get on the plane.
See, but I love it. I love it because she doesn't care and she's not apologizing and she's not like. I looked for articles of her like talking about climate change. I didn't find any in a cursory
she's
search.
never said that
The Kardashians are surprisingly not the preachy types.
So as long as she's not telling me that I have to live a certain way, if she wants to take a private jet 5 minutes away, I don't care.
However,
that is her business.
The rest of the celebrities who, as we know, are constantly preaching about climate change, they do the same shit.
This is different than Leonardo DiCaprio telling me that I can't.
They just hide it.
This is different than Leonardo DiCaprio telling me that I have to limit my red meat consumption and not drive too far because of climate change when he is the one who preaches climate change constantly.
Even Greta Thunberg herself does things like that, like doesn't practice what she preaches.
I think that Kylie Jenner manufactures scandals every once in a while. Like, it's been kind of quiet for her. She let, Courtney got married and there's some health issues, and then Chloe's turns out she's having a baby with the guy who always cheats on her via surrogate.
The Chloe thing right now is crazy because he's in Mykonos cheating on her in public. Yeah.
Well, I don't think they're together. They just had a crazy relationship, decided to have a baby.
Their baby's on the way.
Yeah. But it's too late. They can't undo that. I think part of it is someone they all got together and Kris Jenner, the mom, was like, Kylie, we need you to have a light scandal. Nothing too heavy, but we need to take some heat off your sisters. Mm-hmm. And she was like, okay, I'll just ride my plane for less than 20 minutes.
They're evil geniuses.
It's not so abhorrent that people are going to freak out, but it's also enough to stay in the headlines for 24, 48 hours and distract from whatever else is going on with the Kardashian brand. I honestly, I know that sounds deeply paranoid, but I just think everything they do is manufactured and staged.
So social media users subsequently slammed Jenner across Twitter and Instagram for being a full-time climate criminal, not a part-time. She is not an hourly salaried climate criminal. She is a salaried.
Also, she's not like you said, she's never been I believe in the environment.
Yes. Can't wait to see Kylie Jenner post environmental awareness pics on her stories as if she isn't single-handedly doing more to damage the environment than most of us with her 3-minute flights.
But has she ever
done that? Somebody will have to point that out to me. Another added, every time a paper straw begins to dissolve in my drink, I think about how Kylie Jenner uses a private jet for 3-minute flights, and I get mind-numbingly angry.
Not to get too political, but that is, I hope, telling some people, regardless of whether or not this is a manufactured scandal, I hope it's telling some people that the whole point of a lot of the climate activism is to hoard resources and luxuries, both necessities and luxuries, to the elite people who want to have them, and they want to lower the quality of life for everyone else.
One Instagram user went to Jenner's comment section to ask, whose plane should we use to pollute the earth today? Dude, I think Shane Cashman is right that COVID lockdowns broke everyone's brains. 20 years of like I said, they need to stop calling it climate change. We need a throwback episode where they start calling it global warming again, and I will be very happy.
It needs a rebrand.
And we call them tree huggers.
Yes.
You know who we can
Bring
put on
back
this? The
tree
Kardashians.
huggers.
Let's go. A third wrote, why do I have to limit my meat consumption and use paper straws while the 1% get to pump tons of carbon into the atmosphere for a day trip to the Palm Springs? This is never going to stop, which is why you need to stop thinking that the government is going to fix this problem.
and it's
because
like-
this will never
Or
go
celebrities,
away.
because a celebrity not going on a private jet isn't going to solve all of the global problems we have.
And you can't have government elites. Government elites aren't going to regulate celebrities using private planes, because then they would have to regulate their own private planes. Like, it's much easier to regulate
Right.
people who are distantly removed from you, who don't have access to these resources anyway.
And then some poor person who's very uninitiated says, but what about climate change? Like, as if Kylie Jenner gets
like
in
their
her
world is shattered.
As if
right
Kylie
now.
Jenner gets in front of her plane and goes, well, I mean, it is going to damage the environment and those CO2 emissions are bad, but I need some ice cream from Palm Springs, and it's too long of a drive.
But I stand by her makeup line, whatever other various companies she produce, none of them have a we're green element, right? I think one of Kim's has some we use recycled shipping materials or something, but I don't think Kylie has ever claimed to be interested in protecting the earth.
And then some people defend them here, which I think is funny because they defend them for they're too famous to fly. They're we're tacitly
They're too famous to drive in a car.
We're not defending them. We're kind of telling the other people that they're being dumb. But it says no way that Kylie Jenner and Kendall Jenner are taking first class flights. One fan wrote, these B words are beyond famous. They would get mobbed. If you could afford a private jet, you would too. They're right.
They ride in cars all the time.
Yeah, well, this is
That's
the thing.
ridiculous.
A 17-minute flight means you went maybe to the next county. You're not even going a significant distance. You could have driven there in a private car with the air conditioning going on full blast. This is really kind of for the spectacle of it.
I kind of like the idea of them leaning into really destroying the environment. They just start
No, we're just doing it for the fun of
they
it,
buy
yeah.
gas. They buy purposely what's the worst gas guzzling car? What's the worst car for their environment? They only buy those, and they
just leave the faucet running and leave the house.
Well, hey, just yesterday we talked about how what was it Chloe's?
It was
Courtney's water consumption is
yeah.
far too high. So clearly the Jenners are out for some type of environmental genocide that they are leading, and we are just watching it happen.
They do not have to care about the environment. That was never part of their brand. I don't know what
They're
to
not
tell
Gwyneth
you.
Paltrow.
Carrie?
And even she said you need to find the balance between tofu and cigarettes.
My favorite was this first comment, which is, it says, the far more appropriate outrage here is to ask ourselves how society got to a point where people like Kylie Jenner have so much wealth that they can afford a private jet to avoid sitting in traffic for 45 minutes.
Because you bought their freaking lip kit and watched their reality TV show. You did this to us.
I don't know if
They're
Steve Myers
openly
Kind of
sweatshop using people, wasteful people, very opulent in their appearances, other than that they have bare bones houses. Just because they don't have furniture in their homes doesn't mean that they're not wasteful.
I also like that there's literally whole Twitter accounts and websites dedicated to tracking the flights of the private jets of famous people. That's why they have this money.
Didn't that one kid who tracked Elon Musk's plane got offered a bunch of money to take it down, but also a job?
Yep. So it says, full-time climate criminal, these planes should never be allowed to take off. So never forget that these people are authoritarians.
So
at
how
heart.
is this public information?
Private, I don't know.
If it's a private flight.
They probably know the name of the numbers for her plane, and then they were able to see, this plane logged a 17-minute flight.
Still has to be filed with the FAA, which would still make it comparable, a product of a FOIA request, maybe. I don't know.
And also, I don't understand how they know the exact duration of her flight.
So Kylie Jenner, her carbon footprint is repulsive. So no carbon feet pics from Kylie Jenner is what they're saying.
It's the carbon footprint.
long
of
have you
all
been
of the
waiting with that
people-
joke?
No,
The people that consume her products and then don't use them and throw them in the trash.
Yeah. Well, this article is from 2020, so this is not new.
Okay, it looks like there's a Twitter account called Celebrity Jets, and it logged that Kylie Jenner's jet landed in Camarillo, California, after approximately 12 minutes of flying, and this post went up on July 15th, 2022.
Yeah.
So it looks like they can do it based on the fact that they know her. The plane is registered to her, but also they know the plane's tag numbers.
Okay.
So beyond this, she tried to do. You know how like Kim is really good at like shifting the narrative in the direction she wants it to go whenever bad news comes up. Remember?
Yes,
She's like,
I 100% believe she is in control of her PR.
Go work, ladies. And they're like, you can't say go work, ladies. And then she's like, oh, look, I'm dating Pete Davidson. This is like her version of this. It says Kylie Jenner's TikTok of Target trip amid private jet rage divides fans. So she's not quite as seasoned as Kim is.
Wait, what was coordinated about Kim's thing?
Oh, the idea was just that she was getting a lot of backlash for...
they were like, because people responded. Do you remember this? Like, who had worked for her being like, I couldn't afford to live in the city where we were working. Like,
you think that she just distracted from that by
that's what they do.
outing her relationship?
Yeah. I think that, like, I mean, I stand by. I think the jet thing, I honestly believe Kylie Jenner timed the jet thing to be a slight scandal to distract from whatever's going on with Khloe, who she has, as far as I know, that's one of the sisters she's closer to.
Ride your private jets, ladies. I don't care if it annoys these people because
if Kim is that strategic anyway, then why did she make such a comment?
It was in a video interview.
She was getting, there was some backlash at the time about how she was handling the divorce from Kanye. I think they were like holding her up, and I think they know that they have to keep themselves slightly, like, you can't only get good press, you need some bad press too. So I thought at the time that she made this like get your ass up and work comment to kind of make her look bad, and then she came out with Pete Davidson, which made her look good again. Like, they know it's a yo-yo. To keep people interested, you can't make everyone happy all the time.
Okay.
So she says she asked.
But I like am deep in this conspiracy theory, so it's fine if you don't buy into it.
So they're basically in this. They're talking about she took the kids to Target, and their people are mad because they said that she's playing a normal life simulator. Maybe she should be in The Sims.
She's their new spokesperson.
I wonder what she bought at Target.
Well, she bought lots of toys for the kids. That's what they talk about here. It says, later on Monday night, Jenner posted the adorable 14-second video titled Surprise Target Trip with My Girls, which showed her pushing a cart filled with children into Target. She asked the kids if they want any bowls, panning to the camera at pots and vases, or vases, if you're fancy. Okay. Thank you. Which she receives a resounding no from the kids. The camera then cuts to Stormy looking at the toy section before we see a number of toys in the checkout. So she bought the kids toys.
Did she ever announce, like, that's the thing, if this scandal doesn't blow over, did she ever announce the name of her son? Remember she named him Wolf and then was like, just kidding, that's not his name. Did she ever say what his name really is?
That was a huge thing for a while.
Yep.
Like, that one will just come back up.
I don't know why people were so concerned.
I'm just kind of curious because they all have weird names, but I'm not going to, like, die if I never know.
Yeah, they keep saying that she's playing normal life simulator, so she kind of got a little backlash. She's not quite as good at Kim at redirecting the negative energy from people. Tries to be normal after the jet post, but buys $300 worth of toys. I love how much these people both are simultaneously like obsessed with the opulence of the lives of these people, but then hate it because they remember that they also don't want anybody to be happy because for the greater good.
It's like, do you want the celebrities to live below their means or not?
Yep.
And do you think it's dishonest if they do?
I remember when Obama was in office, or maybe just after he had left office, there was Michelle Obama did some interview and then she's like, oh, we're just gonna go on a Target run, and it was like to make her look normal, and she's like, oh yeah, that's cute, I'm gonna get some stuff, whatever. But like, if you're a reasonable person, you have to realize that is completely staged. Like, Kylie Jenner didn't just go to Target, her security detail is with her, right? Like, this is just not something that you can do when you're that famous. If you don't think they can ride first class on an airplane, there is no way that they can just like, I'm going to go to Target with a bunch of children where people roam around and will recognize me. Yep. The Michelle Obama one, like, it was to make her look normal, but it was like, of course, the Secret Service has completely swept this target before she went in.
Yep.
I think that trying to redeem yourself by looking normal after contrasting it with your private jet, like, you just need to stay in one lane because ultimately you come off looking more superficial.
One fan took issue with the fact that Jenner was posting about riding in private jets amid soaring inflation in many countries. Meanwhile, I'm trying to fill up my gas tank. It's just, I love it.
Do you think that this recession is gonna make people feel very resentful of celebrities?
No, I think most of them are too far gone. I think most of these people don't realize it.
I don't know.
With
I
celebrity
think there are
worship
people,
or the celebrities themselves?
I think the celebrity worship is too ingrained in most of these people to...
I think there are people who feel entitled to other people's wealth. You know what I mean? And they will feel like, well, why would you spend however much money on a private jet when you could have paid for gas for a family of 5 for
could have paid
the
my
whole
college
year.
tuition.
It's
Right.
Like, it's like when they're
It's like because she doesn't have to pay your college tuition or for your gas tank. She could do those things.
And if
Those
she
are
did that
nice.
for everyone, then she would not be able to do it for anyone.
Jeff Bezos could be Batman, but instead he's just like being Jeff Bezos.
Could afford to give everyone $1 million.
Because that's how much. That's how it works. He actually has billions of dollars in a bank account that has like they have to actually make the screen bigger or the text smaller to fit all the zeros. It's not assets. It's not other things. It's just cash.
Also, he went to the villain convention and he was like, "Guys, I think I've had a change of heart. Like,
Exactly.
I'm gonna give out the money." And they're like, "No. This
Wasn't
is
that like literally a thing in Despicable Me? Like some kind of villain?
I don't know. I've
like-
never seen it."
All right. There was one super chat there, and then I think we'll get into Podluck.
Okay, unavailable ID name said, your sim lives a full life in a matter of days, and it has a baby bottle and then champagne popping and a skull and bones.
No, I think that's true.
life. That's life.
I almost in a fit of nostalgic and a haze the other night. Do you remember Tamagotchis?
Yeah.
Well, they made these things called nano fighters, which were sumo wrestlers that you could connect and fight one another
Oh, okay.
on a keychain. It was like a guy's version of a Tamagotchi, but I just didn't want to spend.
Wow, guys, that's so gendered.
That
Sims
is
4
that
is gonna
is-
come for you.
That is very gendered language on my behalf. So, do you want to lead this one? We're gonna talk Billie Eilish. And,
I'm
and-
sorry I didn't send you my article before the show started.
Do you have it?
I have it now. I sent it to you just
All
now.
right.
But I titled it, Billie Eilish breaks her bad girl character by encouraging fans to vote in the midterm elections.
What?
So she's partnering with an NGO called Headcount, and they're doing a sweepstakes competition for her fans. They can enter by either checking their voter registration status, registering to vote through the Headcount portal, or signing up to receive like alerts and information about elections like in the upcoming year.
I get
Sorry,
like
keep
1,000.
Wait, are you like what's wrong?
Well, she's always been very active with the Democratic Party. She performed her like song "My Future" at the DNC National Convention in 2020. Like, this is not new. This is completely on brand for her.
Well, sure. My point was that she has all the appearances of being like
A cool
this
hipster outsider.
alternative, as we were saying, like sad girl music, subversive, out there artist. When in reality, she is like kind of a puppet of
110%.
the
Yeah.
Democratic Party, but not just that, like of any
Neoliberalism.
like NGO or philanthropists and their objectives rather than like being a free thinking person.
Yep.
Yeah, I think partially because of her origin story with like her brother, and they were on SoundCloud, and they seemed like so cool, and like
Whereas like if you look into her story, she seems like a total industry plant because her parents were already in the industry.
it's just like their story seems like when they tell it like it's cute, but
Yeah.
like whether they were a plant or not, she ultimately just does exactly what we expect. I don't mean to say this in any way, but like Zoomers to do, which is to be like, we love the Democratic Party and like everything is awful and help us, and like
Which
Thank
isn't
you.
even really, I think, reflective of the way that Gen Z feels.
No, I don't think it
because
is at
Gen
all.
Z is not a politically interested generation. They're very much disengaged from that, and they're not interested in it. And
We're millennials when we were younger. I mean I can't speak for everyone else, but do you think of millennials as
Like
being
who's more
politically
disenfranchised?
Yeah, do you think of millennials as being politically disinterested, maybe pre-Occupy?
I think that millennials are like the burnout generation. In my personal opinion, I feel like they're the burnout generation for politics because like there was some momentum with Obama, and obviously a lot of them were starting to vote during, like there are millennials who the first time they were voted was for Donald Trump or like, against him, if that's how you feel. But like with Zoomers, I feel like they are like the post-political fervor generation. Like they have moved on because things are so messy anyways. Both political parties in a lot of ways have left them behind, whereas millennials are still sort of trying to reconcile where they land between them. I think that you're totally right. I think part of it is that they want to be like, look, we have a young person and she's edging it outside. But actually, like, she has a history of being very vocal about her politics in line with the Democratic Party. Like, I think there are a lot of Zoomers who don't want to have a political affiliation either way. They just...
And I remember that video of her on stage a while back being like, F Brett Kavanaugh. And then everyone's like, woohoo!
Yeah,
like she has always been obnoxious about that stuff. When, like, that is not speaking to the sentiment that our generation actually feels, which is like disengaged from politics and political, like our civic duty. That would make any Gen Z, like authentic, like ordinary Gen Z kid roll their eyes. Like you're talking about your civic duty and democracy and like the power of your vote.
God, they love talk about democracy.
Right.
Do you think a lot of it has to do with in the age we live in now, with the speed in which information travels between social media and the way content is put out? Do you think that a lot of that disenfranchisement comes from the fact that you see all this content being pushed out, you see agendas being pushed to everyone every day in, day out? News is a 24-hour news cycle anymore. It's not a week-long news cycle. It's all instantaneous, but everything changes at the same slow pace in government, that there is no instantaneous change like the change is with our media. So do you think that a lot of that disengagement comes from the fact that people are like, we push and we push and we push and we put stuff out constantly, and we're constantly pushing, we're constantly hitting the message, but then nothing changes?
Well, you're also told that like tweeting a legislator is political action. When it is not. So if you keep doing it and there's no result, then maybe you feel powerless.
And I do want to point out that these are the people, when the concept for this podcast was not to be political, but the concept of this podcast is that these people are important because, like I said, AOC has 3 to 5 million followers on Twitter. How many does Billie Eilish have?
Oh, somewhere in the tens of millions.
Yes. These are the ones who influence the public opinion and change your social landscape as a whole. It's not the AOCs of the world, although, to be fair, she's making more of a dent than most young politicians. But the idea here is that I wasn't going to make a big booty Latina joke. I wasn't. So the idea here is that these are the people that change the public discourse. And like I said, this is a perfect example of how that happens right under the average person's nose. And to be fair, your average conservative, neocon, and even the libertarians dismiss the fact that these people, have the influence that they do by dismissing a lot of what they do as being trivial or that pop culture isn't important. Well, it is.
I think that young conservatives, like, and I'm using it in like lowercase c and lowercase l, like young conservatives and liberals function a little bit differently on social media. And I do think it's both millennial and Gen Z. I think of like, how influential was the meme during like the more recent presidential cycles?
Meme magic got Donald Trump elected. Absolutely.
Right. And that is a, like, again, conservative leaning person. You don't have to identify as a Republican and you don't have to be totally, on sides about everything. And I think that when you're more left leaning, young people who are left leaning on social media, and I'd love to see a study on this, there probably is one, I'd have to find it, they are looking for what the influencer in their cultures are doing. That's why AOC has a huge following on Instagram and on Twitter. And when she goes live on Instagram, she does her like skincare routine while she dries down, because she's like our fun politician girl that we're excited about. And it's the same thing when Billie Eilish is like, I think you should vote for this party, and like, or like, I hope you're registered. We know that she wants you to be registered as a Democrat. I think that like,
they loved.
I think they're looking to like fall in line, whereas conservatives are used to, at this point, we've shifted so much as a culture that they're used to like being not necessarily the consensus, and they find common threads in like inside jokes on the internet.
I remember, and that's a world away from where it used to be. I remember back in the early 2000s, it would have been the 2000 election. It would have been Bush the first time. The WWE had a thing called Rock the Vote, which was like the Democrat version of basically getting people out to get involved in political activism. And conservatives had Redeem the Vote, which just sounds dorky and loserish to me. So, you wonder how we got to where we got to.
Yeah.
I did like the paragraph at the end here where it says, Billie Eilish has artificially adopted all the appearances of a subversive bad influence in art by covering herself in spiders, crying black tears, and choosing edgy song titles like All Good Girls Go to Hell. However, she's now shown the public that she is happy to use her fame to assist the objectives of a web of shadowy NGOs and philanthropists. See, NGOs and FEMA. That's the real enemy. Those are the
And
real
PayPal.
And PayPal. Those are the real.
That's like the next announcement. Billie Eilish teams up with
There's
PayPal.
the segue
That
we were
is
looking for.
That is the real enemy to democracy as we know it. And frankly, I don't know where we're gonna go from here. Be careful for those FEMA camps, people.
Do you guys think that she genuinely feels convicted about this?
No, I think she's a really precocious young person. And I think she is talented. I think her music is like, she did have this moment where people were really invested in what she was doing. And whether that's because her brother is really talented or what, like there was something fresh about her to a lot of people. But I think ultimately she is like, she was raised in Southern California, her parents work in a liberal industry. Like she knows this is like what you're supposed to say. And I think she's an adult. So I use this in loose terms. All the adults around her are like, yeah, when you said that thing about Brett Kavanaugh, that was great. Like, I don't think she's actually a hyper-political person. No one needed Billie Eilish to weigh in on this, right?
Right.
But she has been in an environment where it's like, you get a gold star. Look at you. You're so in the know for your age.
What about
I mean?
Taylor Swift?
Yeah.
I know that me and you have talked extensively off air also about just the fact that she for a long time withheld.
With her, it's different because she started in country music in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Like, that's a far different industry than pop in the
Well,
late 2010s.
And I give her credit for, I think coming out post, like after the fact, like she had that song about like, why are you so mad about gay people or whatever? Like
Calm down.
Yeah. After, like, to give her credit, Katy Perry had already sort of championed that issue when gay marriage hadn't been legalized yet.
Which is funny because Katy Perry had a song in like 2006 or 7 that was like, "You're so gay."
Yeah. she corrected.
Like,
but with Taylor Swift,
You're so
I didn't
close to
necessarily
second place
agree
party.
with like the stances she came out on. I thought she was just joining the bandwagon afterwards, but she did do some specific political activism in the state that she was registered to vote in, Tennessee, that had to do with stalking laws. And she obviously has had a lot of experience being stalked.
Yeah.
So there was a level of
Sure.
authenticity, and maybe it's a little bit of puppetry or like like showboatism, but I appreciated that it wasn't just like generalized Republicans are bad. She got behind an issue that was specific to her.
See, I love when they get involved in issues that don't have political capital. Like stalking isn't getting you the front page of any magazine.
yeah,
or-
but she was also like very partisan,
Yes.
and still is.
She's super partisan, but again, I stand by like that was an issue that like she specifically has experience in, and no one can deny that. Whereas like having a generic young, she's Billie Eilish is like 18, 19, 20, like who's just saying generally like I'm gonna perform at the DNC party and you should go vote. Like she is just the current DNC idol, and I don't know that I care to hear if she has any specific views on a targeted issue,
and
right?
she's not the only one that has partnered with Headcount, and Headcount is also run by a parent organization called Global Citizen, which is like just a terrible name.
I
Like,
love
immediate
the
red
vague,
flag.
Yeah, exactly.
I love the vague names. It's my favorite
And when
part.
you go to the About Us section, it's not what we are. It's we're driven to blah blah blah. Not
You're so close
we
to the second crisis party.
envision da da da.
No.
Like there's no actual description of what they are or what they do.
Hi,
or
we
who
are
they are.
Hi, we are CIA front.
There are no names. There's nothing. So
We are-
Global Citizen is a larger parent NGO that their mission, they say, is to end global poverty by 2030. Which
What's their specific plan to do that, do you think?
there isn't one.
There never is.
Tweeting.
Yes,
Tweeting
that's
is
how
their
you do it.
mission.
And, the thing is, Billie Eilish has always really inspired me with her compassion and her intense work for poverty.
Thank you.
Oh, wait,
Nathan.
just kidding. I've never heard of her doing that.
Yeah.
It's just. It's all so fake. It's all so fake.
It's all weird. Also, like, I think part of this is I have this theory in some ways that Billie Eilish was having this big takeoff of her career, and then COVID actually, like, she had to cancel one of her tours or like her big tour because of COVID, if I'm remembering correctly. And so that actually like damaged her career. And so in some ways, like, TikTok started to take off, things started to change. She was aided by joining ranks with Democrats and getting some more airtime and having older boomers start to be like, oh yeah, that Billie Eilish girl, she's cool with the young people. Like, it revived her career in some ways to become a little bit more openly political. There was a second downturn after the election, and that's when she started. I mean, at that point she had turned 18 and she did her whole like, I can dress however I want. I didn't want to, you know what I mean? But like, there are moments when she is like pushing herself back into the spotlight that I think her career has never recovered from since it was derailed by COVID.
Speaking of COVID, I want to talk about Comic-Con and the fact that we are in a throwback where apparently the whole world is kind of like moving in various directions. We're monkeypox is a thing, and this isn't about the disease itself. It's the fact that California, like, it's the relationship that it can't let go of, and it loves COVID. The film industry, the entertainment industry loves COVID. There's too much money to be made in testing. There's too much money to be made in health passes. Comic-Con requiring attendees to show a health pass, wear masks at all times. Security staff, like the Stasi, will support adherence to the policy.
Is COVID up in San Diego or wherever this is happening?
By the way, I added the Stasi part there. That wasn't actually
in
the article.
The numbers are always up. The cases are always going to be up forever.
It's always surging through it's making a war path.
I liked it for a while because they were like, hospitalizations are up. But then that stopped happening so much. They're like, so confirmed cases are up. Yep. And then it's like, well, potential contacts are up.
So it says all attendee groups, including but not limited to exhibitors, guests, staff, press professionals, volunteers, and cosplayers, to wear an approved face covering regardless of vaccination status. So now you can't even like get out of the mask if you've got the vaccine, which then they have to check for. It says, in case there's any doubt in year 3 of the pandemic what an approved face covering looks like, the organizers added the following. Face covering should cover your nose, your mouth, fit snugly against the sides of your face, and not have any gaps. I'm picturing like some guy there walking around really mean looking with like a ruler where he measures just like how far the gap is on the side. He's like, that is an unapproved gap on the side of your face. I'm going to need you to tape that shut. Sir,
it's actually like a robot that rolls around.
That would be great.
One of my friends,
Baymax.
went to, grew up in a homeschooling dominant area and went to like a really big homeschool co-op prom where it had like 600 kids, but it was really like the homeschool groups were mostly Christian or religious. So there were rules like your dress couldn't be like too low cut or like, it couldn't have a slit or something. And apparently there would be like, girls would come in and unintentionally have violated or maybe intentionally have violated these rules. And
thank you. Second crisis party. Let's go.
They would get like beckoned by like moms there into like back rooms where they would have like spools of fabric and they would color match their dresses and sew it in to cover or like fix it. Yeah. Like they didn't even say like you have to go home. They just like on the spot like tailored it to fit the rules. I think that's so funny. I wonder if San Diego Comic-Con is going to pass out correct masks or if they're just going to be like, get out of here. Like, are they as nice as stop, I'm trying to talk, as the homeschool moms at this prom co-op? I don't know, man.
Or maybe it's homeschool moms doing it.
It was the same.
No, because the homeschool moms don't care about masks.
Catholic school dances.
Yeah, but did they have this image of like a sweatshop?
They'd give you a shawl.
Oh, okay.
And you have to download a health pass to your phone that proves that you are. It's
the new modesty requirement. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's performing. It's virtue signaling by saying like, look, people are going to get sick everywhere. I also love that in the Hollywood Reporter article here it says Hollywood COVID protocols to be extended until September 30th. They used the term the Omicron variant is surging, and I was like, I have not heard
BA.5.
I have not heard any of this in so long. Like
it stopped mattering.
Just even the word Omicron.
I hadn't heard it in so long, and I'm like, but it's apparently surging. And look, I'm not saying that this is not anti-vax anything. This is not saying that COVID isn't real. It's saying that eventually the Hollywood will have to move on like the rest of the world.
It's
There's
not
too much
even
money
like
being made.
anti your like out there, your feelings about it. Like if you feel anxious about it, I don't see why that should
you.
affect entire
Everyone.
industries. Like, you don't need to go to these events.
Right. We believe in like free choice. So if you want to wear a mask at a large scale gathering, like go for it. Like that's your choice and you're right. But why do we all have to do it when it no longer logically makes sense? I mean, even Fauci has said at times like, oh yeah, they won't declare it endemic. They are resisting comparing it to the flu, but like we're at a point where we're learning to live with COVID. It's we're not gonna eradicate it. It's not gonna go away.
And
At what point do we just sort of as a culture be like, okay, we've moved past this?
We have to live. It says since the latest subvariant. I'm sorry.
Let me tell you, every year there's going to be a
Can't take
subvariant.
it seriously.
Similarly to the flu, from now on there'll be a subvariant. I bet you $100 there's another subvariant.
Whoever the branding man is for COVID, we need to hire them here. I need that branding
They
man.
start like sounding like sorority and fraternity names.
Well, they switched. The newest one is BA.5.
Well, no,
so
yeah,
it
that's
sounds
what
more
it says. It says-
sciencey.
it
I
says-
think it's because it stopped feeling serious, so now it sounds like science.
Well, yeah, because
Science
they
names.
skipped the X. They skipped the X name, right, in COVID because of China, right?
Probably, I don't know.
I don't
This is
know.
the thing, like, no one cares.
Yeah.
I mean, if you care, I respect you. But.
So it says since the latest subvariant Omicron BA.5, that sounds like blood alcohol test. Like if you have COVID and you blow a 0.5 on your breathalyzer, you're not allowed into to the event. I'm not.
It's funny because I think people do get wasted at these events.
Has been well. This is back to the Hollywood Reporter article relating to they've extended COVID protocols for COVID-19 safety on film sets in Hollywood. When Greg Ellis was here a couple weeks ago for IRL, he talked about how much money there is to be made in COVID testing in Hollywood. Like they've got all the off-site facilities and all this stuff. So this will go on forever.
Yeah, I mean, when someone learns how to make money
Forever.
out of it, they're not going to let it go. You're
Exactly.
absolutely right.
Exactly. All right. So beyond that, we have a womp womp womp. We've got two womp womp womps. We've got one that's a follow up.
They're not like huge womp womps.
One's kind of a womp. Okay, so
One's like a womp, and one is like a womp womp.
Yeah.
Second
crisis party.
third crisis.
That's
party.
the
crisis
third
party.
one?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that the second time it's happened?
Wait,
That's
where
the
are your T-Rex arms?
Nice.
I
You have
just,
to T-Rex the whole way through.
I'm not okay. So that
He's trying to talk, and I'm making him go like this.
We're pigeonholing you.
I really do love these. Hi.
Yay.
fair.
And
Okay.
they're in such quick succession.
so here it is. Basically, people are mad at Jennifer Lopez for taking Ben Affleck's name because they just got married. Thank you.
Gotta protect my coffee.
So Ben Affleck
Is
and
she
Jennifer,
actually, or is she doing the celebrity thing where you're still called
she'll still be called
Jennifer Lopez for the rest of your life, but your
I think
legal name is
Her legal name is Jennifer Affleck now.
Okay.
I think the tradition of taking men's names is coming back into fashion. Have I told you guys this theory?
I don't think it was ever out of fashion.
Yeah, it definitely was.
it?
Yeah.
If you knew anybody who would be a hyphenator, who would it be?
I'm gonna hyphenate because my name's already complicated enough, so I'm just gonna keep going.
Fair enough. So it says Jennifer Lynn Lopez is now legally known as Jennifer Lynn Affleck. No Affleck fans
hate
here?
that.
Okay. Ben
Do you
Affleck.
think that he is like our dad joke, like generator over there?
It's like you say no before anyone even has the time to respond.
I feel like he was like, "Don't comment on my great joke."
They got married in Vegas over the weekend, which is that's a great throwback to the things of old. Is that a legal marriage? Because didn't Courtney and
The Vegas thing is becoming a bit of a trend, huh?
yeah, well, didn't one of
But
the
remember, you can get a same-day marriage license in Maryland if you are interested.
so if anybody wants to propose to Hannah Claire, you have to get that same day license in Maryland.
Don't make me sound so desperate. I
so-
can find myself a man eventually.
So no, didn't Courtney and Travis Barker?
Yeah, they did like a
Yeah,
late
they
thing,
did,
but
but
that
it was
wasn't real?
So Vegas stopped giving out licenses all night long. There's like
Yeah.
a cutoff time, and they arrived after, so like couldn't get a license. But I know with Ben Affleck and Jennifer, formerly Miss Lopez, they were like saying in their when they were talking about it, like, oh, we arrived just in the nick of time to get legally married.
Well, they're mad at her now because she took his last name. I think what this means is we need to make a sequel to Gigli. I don't know if either of you ever saw
That's supposed to
Gigli.
be like the worst movie of all time.
It's amazing. It's like if I could drink alcohol still, I would drink alcohol with you guys and we would watch that movie. It's that bad, but it's
Can we
amazing.
like feed you a lot of sugar, maybe? Get a similar
I don't want
effect.
that. Then you're hyper and you can't sit still. It says I wouldn't have let her change her last name to mine. I wouldn't have. This guy.
He's like, I would have taken hers.
I
I respect her.
Like it's very bold to admit you're that beta, like that openly, but that's fine. So it says I would have had her change her last name. I wouldn't have had her change her last name to mine. I would have changed my last name to Lopez. Her loss.
I'm Ben Lopez.
So then one person says her name is more iconic though. He should have taken the chance to become Ben Lopez.
But then is that
think they're
like
equal
racial
in terms of
appropriation? You know what I mean? Seems like it could be inappropriate.
There's
Trying to ride the coattails of a successful Latina woman.
Latinx.
I apologize.
There's a character in Criminal Minds named Garcia who's very white, but it's because she was adopted, or her step parents were national Garcia, and that was never brought
appropriation.
up. Yeah, that's that's the sad thing. Nowadays, that's what they would say. Like that's what they'd say today. So it says there's no way Jennifer Lopez is taking his last name. I will riot. This is when I say celebrity worship, weird celebrity worship. This is what I'm talking about.
I will riot because
Jessica.
I'm extremely personally invested.
I'm assuming Depressica Alba is Jessica Alba's name.
What?
It's her fake Twitter account.
It's a blue check. So
it is?
whoever Rod B is on Twitter, Depressica Alba, which is just, if that's not Twitter in a
It's
nutshell.
got a blue check, but I don't think it's her.
If that's not Twitter in a nutshell, I don't know what else.
It's a great name.
So it says, so he's saying that he will riot if he doesn't get, if she takes his last name. So this is weird celebrity worship and womp 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 all at once because you can't win.
I think that it's great that she took his last name, and I think it's hilarious. And if it makes people mad, it makes it even
Do you think
better.
it should be back in fashion then? You're happy it's back?
Okay, hold on. I just looked up a statistic. So most women adopt their family's name when they get married, around 70%. But it has trended throughout history, and I do think feminism is a part of this. Like, if you
The
accomplish something,
hyphenation thing, I feel, is like a very 80s, 90s type of feminist stand to take.
That was the last time feminism was any good.
there is, and I can't remember her name. I hate to say this.
I knew as soon as I said that you would disagree with me.
No.
There was a reporter who wrote this article about why taking her husband's last name was actually a feminist move, and I mean, especially
It's just like, you don't need to actually it. Just do what
whatever
you want to do.
I mean, she does conclude in this article, and it's well done. She says basically, I did it because I wanted to, and that's like, that should be what feminism is about. Like, I'm a empowered lady, and I do it. Whatever. That's her opinion.
It's just like, when women do the things they want to do, it's feminism.
What I had always heard, and especially with people who work in outward facing jobs like journalism or media, like Jennifer Lopez, right? Like, that her name is part of her brand. That's why it's upsetting to people.
Yeah, she can't
But
change.
people will always refer to her as Jennifer Lopez, just like Kate Middleton is still Kate Middleton, even though I think she has a different last name.
Of course, yeah.
I think it should come back into trend just because people get so mad about it, and it's such a punch in the face to like third wave feminism. I personally like that kind of stuff, but I don't think anyone is obligated to do it. I'm not crazy about the trend of combining last names. Yep. There's some people's it works for, but like that is what a lot of my friends talk about this. They're going to combine last names.
If it sounds better hyphenated, go for it, I think. But mostly
I'm just going to do it so I'm annoying. So you have to say like 8 names when you introduce me.
Caper 2X, I do know that. It's just that in the show they talk about the character. She said, "Wow, Brett," or he said, "Wow, Brett, Hispanics come in all colors." I know that, but in the show, the character.
No, he's joking.
Yeah, in the show, the idea here is that Morgan and them have their back and forth about it, and because the idea is in the show is like she can't speak Spanish, and they always give her crap for it. So. And one more thing, Johnny Depp has not.
Was that the womp, or was that is this the?
There's a womp here.
This is the womp, and that's that Johnny Depp has not learned his lesson. This lady that we talked about yesterday that he's dating, it's his Spanish tutor or his French tutor for the movie that he's going to play who's Louis the 15th.
Oh really?
Whoever the French king from So basically, this is his French tutor, and that means he's met another woman on a movie set, which means he has learned zero lessons
for him. It's over, and especially if you're teaching French. I mean, it's literally like a romance language.
And they're gonna spend hours.
Now I know that's
hanging
not
out
what romance
and
language
talking about their
means,
feelings. Yeah, no, but like it's all gonna be conversational. They have a conversation based. Conversation based relationship. They're gonna talk. And
They have to
like,
talk
"You've been
about
through
like
so
wine
much."
and cheese.
So it says seemingly his new female companion, Depp, unsurprisingly made headlines over the weekend when he was spotted in Italy, accompanied by the redhead. Johnny was in town, and somebody accused me of not
Is
liking
he
redheads.
helping her with her bags too?
It's very nice.
I was the one who
gentleman.
accused you. I'm sorry.
That was very rude.
Somebody in this room.
Johnny was in town for a jazz festival where he played with Jeff Beck. However, it's not. They talk about this. It's his French teacher for the upcoming movie. I don't know how to pronounce that. Does anybody know how to pronounce that?
Where?
What's highlighted there in the middle of the article, right below a little red vignette. The movie's name.
Jean de Barry.
Is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah.
Okay. As a French teacher, so it says the woman is working on Depp's upcoming movie as a French teacher. Makes a lot of sense to bring your teacher on the road with you if you're Johnny and live a lifestyle of constant travel and performance. The movie will mark Depp's first film in 3 years, where he plays Louis XV in the project, which centers around the life of, and that's that name. I don't know how to pronounce that name.
Jean du Bessu.
Yeah. So, and it's a mistress who died when he died. His mistress when he died is who the movie's about.
I have to reiterate. I'm sorry, but he looks like such a dork in these pictures.
Yes. There was we talked
It's
about
just
this
it's
yesterday.
the hat and all
He's
the
playing at a
bracelets
jazz
and the
festival.
necklaces. It's just like, dude,
He's
we
an
get
artiste, Mary.
You're an
He's
artiste.
a serious musician.
It's that photo right there. I'm just like,
It's too much. Like I can't.
only
not
somebody worth a lot
cringe.
of money is allowed to pose like that and not get made fun of by his friends. Sorry. That's,
But we can make fun of him, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like it's like Elvis towards the end of his life, and I hate to say it like this, but like he put
Oh,
on a
yeah.
lot of weight, and he's wearing the same costumes, and it's like you're just post heartthrob, and you haven't embraced that yet. You haven't transitioned up.
well, he could be doing fine if he lost a little bit of the weight.
Well, it's more how he dresses that I have a problem with it. It's just like very try hard.
He is not wearing skinny jeans though. I feel like if he were wearing like the super tight skinny jeans, it would be too much.
Yeah.
Super chats.
New Anomaly Production said the boy version of Tamagotchi was Digimon and they rocked.
Yes.
Is that true?
That is true.
Deleo Turk said Digimon was the original battle Tamagotchi.
Yep.
F off said Eyelash is way too messed up in the head.
Do you think that
Maybe she appears more messed up in the head than she actually is.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think it's part of it's just part of her persona that she portrays?
Kind of,
It's
yeah.
a little bit of everything.
Be careful to let just because we enjoy making fun of them does not mean that they're
The
not
thing
doing
is,
it to get clicks.
The style will change eventually, and it'll be curious to see when challenged, when her look and her sentiment and her sound are no longer in vogue. Does she stay true to it, or does she convert? Because it's really what pop. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Taylor Swift always wanted to ultimately have a really poppy sound, but I think Taylor Swift, she's like, oh, I'm changing as an artist, but I think she converts to sort of stay on trend. And I wonder if Billie Eilish will do the same thing.
Yeah. F off said she wants to be all moral, even though anyone can see her get blown out.
In reference to what? Billie Eilish?
Eyelash.
Is that true?
I don't know. Maybe he means like moralizing social issues
Okay. All right.
and like preaching about that type of stuff. Caper2X said for the Mary Nap and Cookie Fund.
Caper2X is here a lot today.
Yep.
Thank you for that. I need a nap fund. It's free. That's the only thing in life that's free. Nathan Koss said, oh, I missed it. Nathan Koss said, nothing is real anymore. Our TV wall parlors blast us with nonsense to distract us from the bombs and the world burning.
Yeah, I was reading.
Is that a Billie Eilish song?
I get a lot of like
the whole thing is just a song.
Those are her lyrics.
one of the things that I get a lot of on Instagram at the expense of the algorithm is like the people who like success quotes and all the lame like Warren Buffett success. And one of them talked about like how pop culture is literally created to distract you from the things that are important in life. And in a lot of ways, they're not wrong about that. Like I find it interesting to talk about, at least on what it means for us socially, or what it means for the socio-political landscape that we live in. But it's absolutely created to distract and is a product of living in a society that has it very, very good because of how good we have it here in the West. So.
F off said, Eyelash said, watching Prawn at a young age, we know what you mean, messed her up.
Yep.
She did say that, and I thought that was an interesting conversation because it kind of like blew up on Twitter. And
I remember that.
And she
people
had
started
similar
talking about it, like having similar experiences.
Yeah, and she had similar comments about like wanting children but being afraid of it. Like, I think anything could happen. She's still so young and so early in her career, even though her career has been so big that like I want to watch. I don't want to take such a definite
still
stance
has
that
room
I
for
can't
self-determination. I hope.
And she is talking about stuff that like, I mean, to be like, yeah, it really messed me up is against what a lot of narrative would be, which is like it's empowering for women to watch that.
Absolutely.
Women or young men, I guess.
Yeah. F off said, here's my money shot for Hannah Claire. Thank you for the third crisis party, dude.
100. Yeah, thank you. That is incredible. And Hannah Claire says thank you as well.
Sir, you forget yourself. But I did like the lights, so that was exciting.
But
He
she will
also
not
said,
say the word.
where do I apply for the license?
For the
What?
for the Hannah, I said if you want to marry Hannah
The
Claire,
Maryland
you need to apply the same day marriage
license.
license. You'd have to find a marriage. Where do you do that?
man.
We
Gov-
can thank Hannah Claire for the third crisis party.
Yes, we can.
Single-handedly
bringing in
contributing
the
to this.
Sims.
Yeah, just send your resume and stuff to Brett. I think
You
that's-
have a
I'm just
husband
kidding.
application that you're gonna plug at the end of the show.
Well, I don't think so. But if you're really serious about
Send it to pitches at
Timcast.com.
timcast.com.
pitches at timcast.com so my editor can read it, or you could DM direct Brett on Instagram and just let him know. I've got to screen you somehow.
K42X said, wow, Brett, Hispanics come in all colors.
Yes.
Oh, you already got scolded.
I got
Not to
scolded.
reiterate it.
We have addressed
He
it.
couldn't he couldn't resist.
I
the
could
same
not
with
resist
trauma.
it. I was like,
Okay. Trauma?
Exactly.
Sorry.
What just happened?
It's an inside joke.
We're
Thank you for inviting
stupid.
me on your show while you have inside jokes. I love inside jokes. I hope to be a part of one day.
New Anomaly Production said, let's skip
Gigli.
and move for Jersey Girl 2.
I
Sorry, I
never-
didn't know how to pronounce that.
I never saw Jersey Girl. But I would support Gigli. What we actually could do is see if Kevin Smith could recapture the magic of Dogma with a second. I don't think that's possible.
There's no way, but that would be cool.
That wouldn't be allowed.
We should do Dogma with a crossover for a Maid in Manhattan, right? That was
Oh
what
my
she was
God!
in.
Or
Come on, Kevin Smith. Let's see it.
an actual Dogma with dogs.
I want Kevin Smith to come on this show. I feel like that'd be so cool.
He'd cry and he would do that.
He'd have a great time.
He's kind of become like an industry shill in a lot of ways. Like,
Say it to his face when
there
he comes
was
on the
a-
show.
Don't say that. You want him as a guest.
there was a thing where he
Kevin
talked
Smith,
about,
come on the show and defend yourself from Brett.
there was the thing where he talked about how he's like when
Is that you,
Four.
Kevin Smith?
Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith, did you just give us a crisis party?
That's insane.
Is it because I'm not
thank
married and
you.
they figured
Thank
it
you.
out?
Like that's Hannah Claire. We're gonna have to set you up on like a.
Oh my gosh, it's happening.
Kevin Smith had a thing where he basically said to somebody, in a tweet, or he says when he got hired to do Masters of the Universe Revelations, he was like, I'm a big He-Man fan, I'm a big Masters of the Universe fan, this, and that. And then somebody because everyone had the feeling that Masters of the Universe Revelations at Netflix was going to be a bait and switch and make it about Tila rather than about He-Man. And then somebody goes back through his tweets, because somebody always has to go back through your tweets, and found a tweet of him from like years prior. He goes, I was never the biggest He-Man fan, but there's going to be this thing going on at this art house where he announced it. And they're like, and then they pointed out that he was clearly
Okay,
like,
but if you're not the biggest He-Man fan, if you take time to call out a He-Man related event on your Twitter and being like,
No,
hey,
he
you
was-
guys should go.
yeah.
Like promoting it, like you're still somewhat of a He-Man fan. You know what I mean?
Yes. So, but then the thing is, though, is everyone ended up being right, and it absolutely was a bait and switch, and Tila was the main point of that show, and everybody hates Masters of the Universe Revelation. So it makes sense. So
Kevin Smith is coming on Pop Culture Crisis.
that would be interesting. That would be
Unless
very
PayPal
interesting.
stops
He
us.
also had weird internet beef with like Neon and Geeky at Clownfish TV, which is one of the I watched so much pop culture YouTube for a long time, but I can't really do that now because I don't want to.
You have to have your own opinions.
Not just but I don't want to even influence what topics I find. Like I want to find the stuff I want to talk about. and have it feel organic. Whereas if I'm listening to, if they end up covering something that we covered, I can't watch it until after we've done our video. Otherwise, I don't want it to influence where that comes from.
Yeah,
so
I getcha.
it's kind of ruined my like the stuff that I used to watch.
This
the comic
job
book
is
stuff.
ruining Brett's leisure time.
The comic book stuff I can still watch because we don't really cover comic. We talk about Marvel in
sometimes
the
do.
movies, but not the actual comic book industry as
I
much.
feel like we do talk about the comic book industry.
We talk
Well,
about
like
the
maybe not
adaptation.
enough.
Yeah,
We talked about that.
that's a rare example of us covering it specifically. So, all right, that is there was a couple more there before we are done.
Bad App said something that I'm not going to read.
Sorry, Bad App.
But thanks anyways.
It's, something
it
about
makes
Brett.
more and more sense, Bad App, why you make the clothing you make and the things that are on those shirts.
Okay, yeah, don't read that.
That's just how your brain works.
It's fine.
Okay. Find your niche in the world. We're happy for you.
And F off said, here's the fourth for Hannah. Just so you guys know, all of the money you send in super chats goes directly to Hannah Claire's personal bank account.
Straight. It's literally this is just real money.
We don't take any of it.
Yeah.
It all goes to Hannah Claire's bank account. Even when she's not the guest on the show, it goes to her bank account.
Yeah.
So
also,
just
it's how I get my
know.
bonus. That's why I sit here collecting it the whole time.
Yeah.
I gotta walk out of here with like some money.
That is perfect. Now that you are so much richer, Hannah Claire, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b. You can find me on Gab at hannahclaireb. And you can find me on timcast.com. I write 5 articles a day. You should check it out. Mary's there too.
What did you read? What did you write about today?
Today, I wrote about this. I mentioned it on the show. This case with the fashion designer who's being challenged by the Greek Orthodox Church, and I wrote about. Oh my gosh, it's much harder to do while I'm getting money is being projected at me. I think I'm going to write after this about the Ohio congressional map getting thrown out. So it's a mix of like all kinds of industries. I do some business stuff, some political stuff, some.
Not again. Thank you.
Oh my God, it's because I'm so good at promoting my work on Timcast.
They love reading about Hannah Claire's stuff on timcast.com.
I bet none of them read it, but I hope they do. It'd be fun.
We all hope so.
Brett's like, I've never read anything you've written in my life.
Once again, directly to Hannah Claire's bank account. All of it. YouTube doesn't even take a cut.
No.
You guys don't
It's
understand.
100%.
I love it.
So
I need to read the rest of these
yes.
before. Yeah.
Yeah,
we
I
go.
started signing off, and
wait, finish your sign off.
Okay.
I think that's
Okay,
it.
so you
I'm
got
on
it?
Instagram. I'm on the social medias, and really look at my stuff on timcast.com and tell Tim how much you like it and what a good journalist I am.
Perfect.
Okay. Caper2X said, Hannah Claire, I'm an internet minister if you need one.
Interesting. Okay, I'll let you know. First, I have to find a man, and there's some other steps, but after that, let's
Yes.
keep in touch.
There are definitely steps in the middle there.
And F off said, here you go, Hannah.
There.
Thanks, team. You could do it again, and we could be here all day.
That's
like, please stop.
IRL still has to go on tonight. We're in the
Another one.
We're in the.
It makes Brett crazy, which is part of the fun.
Bad App also said, I'm taking that as a compliment with a black heart emoji.
Perfect.
Good, because it was meant as one.
All right, let everyone know where they can find you, Mary.
Before they do another crisis party.
I'll just say it really slowly.
Give them time.
You can find me on Instagram or WeChat at Closer Kitty.
Wait, I have to interrupt. Are you
Yes?
going to get on MySpace? Because I think you, as a believer in the early 2000s, could bring MySpace back.
I mean, does MySpace still even exist in some iteration?
That's for you to find out and for me to sign up.
I
when
was
you have
thinking of
determined
making a friend project back in like 2020 when that was happening. Like people were making Windows 95 versions of Friend
Friendster.
Project. Yeah, Friendster.
Friendster. It's incredible. It's incredible stuff. I think that was everything. And then when you have articles.
Yeah, sometimes I post articles on timcast.com like I did today. So keep an eye out for me promoting them on there.
Perfect. Guys,
See how valuable the newsroom is? It has me. It has Mary. It's the best part of Timcast, except for Pop Culture Crisis, in my opinion.
Exactly. That's what I thought. That's what I thought right there, guys. If you want to follow me, it's on Instagram at Brett Dasovic, the show. We are here, barring interruptions from PayPal and FEMA, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. right here on YouTube.com. And we tried to get on right at 3 o'clock. I saw one person left a note at 3:02. They're like, late. We're doing our best. FEMA and PayPal keep interrupting, but we're going to keep trying. So catch us here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are also on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify. You can't see all the lights when people give money to Hannah Claire's personal bank account when you do that, though. So you should watch as well. We're on social media. We are on Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at popculturecrisis, and on Instagram at popculturecrisispod. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. See you then, guys. Bye.
Bye.